Chapter 950. If this were under normal circumstances, the Thunder Master God would have to admit that the other party's words were not completely unreasonable. Lin Jingfeng was a peerless genius who had a Master God weapon to protect him. Ordinary Heavenly Supreme Tao experts were not enough for him. Without a fifth or sixth tribulation of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage, no one could do anything to him. And the information from the Fengyan continent did indeed show that the first batch of experts from the Celestial Phenomenon continent didn't include any high-level heavenly god. However, the current situation on the Black Magpie star could not be predicted with common sense. Right now, there were no other experts on the Black Magpie star. It was hard for him to believe that the Celestial Phenomenon continent wasn't the culprit. Even if there was no evidence, it could still be inferred. Why now? Does the Thunder Master God feel that regardless of whether we've done it or not, the celestial phenomenon should still be blamed for this debt? Ding Yundu's tone was indifferent, but there was a hint of coldness in it. If you insist on framing our celestial phenomenon continent, we won't be able to defend ourselves even if we have 100 mouths. We'll take the blame for this. The Thunder Master God snorted out coldly, "What's true cannot be faked, and what's fake cannot be made true. This matter would come to light sooner or later. Sir Cloudcrossing, you said that the strongest in the first batch were only third or fourth tribulation cultivators. Can I verify this? How do you want to collect evidence? Gather them all together. I just need to take a look." The request of the Thunder Master God was not complicated at all. Even though his request wasn't overboard, Ding Yundu still looked at the Thunder Master God with a meaningful gaze. It was only after a long time that he finally broke out into a smile. "All right, I'll let you take a look. What's wrong with that?" In the first batch of experts from the Celestial Phenomenon continent, there were a total of 20 teams with a total of 140 people. But now, after several chaotic battles, 4 to 5 teams had been completely annihilated. As for the other teams, half of them had lost members. There were only 80 to 90 people left. Almost half of them were dead or injured. Ding Yundu said indifferently, "Let me introduce you. This is the Thunder Master God, a newly minted Master God of the Wind Cloud continent. He said that one of you killed Lin Jingfeng." The Thunder Master God swept his gaze across the entire place, patrolling it a couple of times as his heart skipped a beat. Amongst this group of people, there was indeed a group of powerful beings who were mid-level heavenly god. However, regardless of whether it was in terms of strength or other aspects, it was obvious that this person was not the one who killed Lin Jingfeng. Even with the eyesight of a Master God, the Thunder Master God could not make out any clues at all. A strange thought flashed through his mind. Could it be that the one who killed Lin Jingfeng was really someone else? If that's the case, it won't be easy for me to get out of this embarrassing situation. How is it? Is there anyone who killed Lin Jingfeng? When Ding Yundu caught sight of how the Thunder Master God was remaining silent, he knew that he had already gained the upper hand in terms of logic. Naturally, he was going to seize the opportunity to strike. The Thunder Master God harumphed out softly, "Who knows if you guys have any hidden characters?" Ding Yundu's tone was unfriendly as he scoffed out coldly, "Thunder Master God, you're the one who's here to seek confirmation. And now you're the one who's saying these words as well. You are an exalted sovereign. Are you really going to be a fickle, despicable person?" The Thunder Master God snorted out coldly, "All right then. Let me ask you guys. Within this batch of people, is there someone by the name of Wu Xinghe?" Wu Xinghe? Ding Yundu was not too familiar with the name list and did not have much of an impression of the name Wu Xinghe. He could not help but turn around to look at the others with a startled expression. "Lord Master God, Wu Xinghe is one of the team leaders of the itinerant cultivators. He has been dead for a long time now." "Dead? Where was he killed? Are there any corpses to prove it?" The Thunder Master God scoffed coldly, You guys from the great illusory Sun Divine Palace have all placed a bounty on the head of that Wu Xinghe. The way I see it, this Wu Xinghe is the most suspicious. Everyone exchanged glances before turning their gazes towards the sole survivor of the great illusory Sun Divine Palace, Ri Dongshan. Instantly, Ri Dongshan was pushed to the heart of the storm. Wu Xinghe is indeed suspected of killing my junior brother, Hong Yu. But what has that got to do with your weathering mainland? Even though he hated Wu Xinghe so much that his teeth were itching, there was no way he could splash dirty water on Wu Xinghe under such circumstances. Otherwise, who knew how Ding Yundu would deal with him later on? If he were to frame Wu Xinghe right now, wouldn't that just be siding with an outsider? Ri Dongshan was no fool. He still had that bit of discernment. The Thunder Master God harumphed coldly. Based on my intel, the person who killed Lin Jingfeng, this Wu Xinghe is the most suspicious. Now that you guys can't even tell us where Wu Xinghe is, that just proves that this matter is even more suspicious. A heavenly supreme Tao leader from the myriad Eagle Palace over at the Celestial Phenomenon mainland could not help but interject, Your Excellency Thunder Master God, if you want to condemn someone, why worry about the pretext? That Lin Jingfeng is also a rare genius of your weathering mainland, right? That Wu Xinghe is just a mere itinerant cultivator. What capabilities could he have? Killing Lin Jingfeng? Aren't you guys thinking too highly of him? That Wu Xinghe is merely a itinerant cultivator who had just broken through to the first calamity of the heavenly supreme Tao realm. That's something that we've already investigated. The place where Wu Xinghe had broken through was in one of the itinerant cultivators' alliances under the rule of our myriad Eagle Palace. If you were to say that he could have killed the last disciple of your number one Master God, who would believe that? Ding Yundu seized the opportunity to chime in. Thunder Master God, if you want to frame someone, you should at least pick a more accurate target. You picked a itinerant cultivator whose strength is not even comparable to Lin Jingfeng. You're saying that he could have killed Lin Jingfeng? That's not a joke, is it? The Thunder Master God was speechless. He could not possibly say that he had obtained some clues from searching through the soul of the Snow Marten King and deduced it from there, right? Firstly, he could not say that out loud. Secondly, even if he could not reveal anything about the great heaven-connecting canyon. The Thunder Master God snorted out coldly, Your Excellency Yundu, the matter regarding Lin Jingfeng is something that neither you nor I can decide for ourselves. If I can't find any clues, I might just have to report it to the Wind Master God. By then, the Wind Master God might be enraged and take it out on you guys. That's something that I can't guarantee. Only your Wind Master God is strong. Are there no powerful beings in our celestial phenomenon mainland? Ding Yundu scoffed out coldly, Thunder Master God, don't think that the reason why I asked you to come check on my party is because I'm afraid of you. I just want to tell you that you guys are the ones who are in the wrong. However, this Black Magpie Star is a place to get rich. There's not much meaning in continuing to fight. If you guys insist on standing, I'll accompany you anytime. That's right. We'll accompany you anytime. What's there to be afraid of? That's right, that's right. In front of our celestial phenomenon mainland, don't try to act all high and mighty. We won't fall for that. The Thunder Master God knew that it wasn't a good time to delve any deeper today. He snorted out heavily and cupped his fists, Your Excellency Yundu, we'll meet again someday. Before the truth is out, the matter regarding Lin Jingfeng will never come to an end. If this Thunder Master God wanted to leave, there was truly no one who could hold him back. Even though Ding Yundu knew that his cultivation state was high, he was only on par with this Thunder Master God. Even though there was a difference in strength between the Master Gods, that slight difference in strength was something that everyone was clear about. After the Thunder Master God left, Ding Yundu's face darkened as he snorted out coldly, Wind Cloud Mainland. If not for the fact that they had arrived 10 years earlier and had a more stable foundation, who would have the patience to get rich with them? Since a master god had spoken, the other gods were naturally submissive. Forget it. Then, what's going on with Wu Xinghe? Ding Yundu asked. Sir, it's just like that. Wu Xinghe is indeed an itinerant cultivator. Back then, their team was sent to the south to scout for military intelligence. Later on, when the beast stampede broke out, there was no longer any news of that team. With that surge of several million beasts stampede, I reckon that they are most likely doomed. Ding Yundu frowned. Isn't that the southern region the base of the Wind Cloud mainland? Sending them to the south to scout? Whose idea was that? Ding Yundu was evidently no fool. The moment he heard that, he could tell that there was a suspicion of pushing out the itinerant cultivators. Everyone was extremely awkward as they exchanged glances. Finally, their gazes landed on Ri Dongshan. Ri Dongshan was even more awkward. Sir, this is also a test for them. After all, no one could have predicted that the beast stampede would happen. No one could have predicted it? Why did I hear from others that the beast stampede was instigated by the disciples of your great illusory Sun Divine Palace? Ri Dongshan's heart sank. His face was drained of color, and he could not speak for a moment. Ding Yundu sighed softly. As the chief god of the celestial phenomenon continent, how could he not know the general trend of the celestial phenomenon continent? These major forces were the best at attacking itinerant cultivators. It was just that this was not the right time to attack and ostracize. They actually had the leisure to engage in infighting in a situation where they should be working together as one. Ding Yundu's gaze immediately turned cold. The dead are gone. I can let bygones be bygones. From today onwards, all of you teams, regardless of whether you're from major sects or itinerant cultivator teams, all of you have to remember your roles. You're all mercenaries entrusted by the main shrine. Among you, there's only one identity, and that's adventurers. You should be of one heart and one mind to serve the main shrine, and not think of ways to fight among yourselves. When Ding Yundu said this, those people more or less heaved a sigh of relief. This meant that there would be no next time. Then this time, at least they would not pursue the matter. You don't have to worry either. Whether or not Lin Jingfeng's death has anything to do with us, the main shrine will not let you suffer. They have the number one master god, don't we? At the end of the day, the Wind Cloud continent and our celestial phenomenon continent are still archenemies. Sir is wise. Ding Yundu's unexpected appearance messed up the Thunder Master God's deployment. Since both sides had master gods, the latter could not strike out recklessly. Otherwise, there was a high chance that this would turn into a battle between the master gods. Both of them had reached a tacit understanding that the master gods would not participate in the battle. All fights would be left to their subordinate. In the sky connecting Grand Canyon, the 7 Beast Kings had extremely terrible expressions on their faces. All of them looked at one another, their eyes filled with sorrow. The ferret and elephant really self-destructed? Wind Cloud Continent. The Fengyun Continent. The Wolf King gnashed his teeth as he thought to himself. In the colossal beast race, the 9 Beast Kings were as close as brothers. The moment 2 of them died, the emotions of the other 7 erupted at the same time. Their hatred for the Wind Cloud Continent had also reached its limits at this moment. This hatred was something that could never be resolved. Sir Xinghe, the ferret and elephant have self-destructed. The Lion King's tone was filled with grief and indignation. Qin Wushuang shook his head helplessly, feeling somewhat sympathetic. However, the difficult situation did not give them the time to be sad. Fellow Beast Kings, the ferret and elephant have died for the greater good of the Black Magpie Star. All of you survivors should work even harder for them and complete the cause that you have yet to complete. The 7 Beast Kings nodded their heads, their expressions unprecedentedly resolute. If you want to know what will happen next, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author and support the original reading. Chapter 951. Qin Wushuang and the rest did not explore the crystal stone mines. Their speed had obviously increased by a lot. 7 days later, they had already penetrated 100,000 miles into the hinterland. Here, the entire sky connecting Grand Canyon seemed to have let them enter that mysterious ancient era. Trees that could not be hugged by a few people, deep and serene caves, all kinds of strange monsters that would appear from time to attack, and trouble that could come out at any time. That sense of crisis seemed to be hanging over their heads, and could come out at any time to cause trouble. Everyone's heartstrings were tightly taut. They did not dare to relax for a moment. Fortunately, Qin Wushuang's heavenly supreme Tao experts led the way. It was very dangerous, and 60 to 70% of them were dealt with by him alone. The rest of the group dealt with the remaining 30 to 40%. In this way, although it was very strenuous, but at least there were no major problems. Lord Xinghe, according to the rumors, we should be close to the core area of Myriad God Cave. The rumors say that between 100,000 to 300,000 miles in the Grand Canyon, there is Myriad God Cave, and it is the place of the demons in the ancient universe. It is both real and illusory. I don't know if it is true. Lion King said carefully. Qin Wushuang sensed the ancient aura in this area, and faintly believed this rumor. There is no smoke without fire, and even if the ancient legends were not completely true, most of them had some clues. We have already come to this step, let's continue forward. Qin Wushuang waved his hand, and everyone continued on their way. Qin Wushuang was still in the lead. While they were moving, Qin Wushuang suddenly stopped, and his eyes revealed a look of disbelief. Everyone, look! Everyone looked at the place where Qin Wushuang's finger was pointing. Above the mountain range in front of them, between the clouds and fog, a huge palace appeared faintly. The palace was a complex of buildings. The center was tall, while the two sides were tall and short. They were symmetrically distributed, surrounding the largest building in the center. It was like stars surrounding the moon. It was majestic and magnificent, giving people a sense of incomparable solemnity. That's a palace! Everyone's eyes revealed a fanatical look. In such a place, to see such a majestic palace, there was no doubt that it was a very sacred place. Captain, according to our visual estimation, it's at most 1,000 li away. Let's speed up and go there in one breath. Tai Hong was suddenly energized. After walking for so long and passing by so many crystal mines, it was really too torturous for these rogue cultivators. It was really not their style to not dig for crystals when there were so many of them. Now, all kinds of emotions were subdued by this majestic and enchanting palace. From afar, the palace seemed to be floating above the clouds, like a castle in the sky. Haha, could this be an opportunity bestowed by the heavens? Lu Xiong's voice trembled with excitement. Even Black Wing's gloomy eyes revealed a rare look of fanaticism. As for Gu Feng, he stared at the palace without blinking. An existence that can make me give up my crystal stones, I hope it doesn't disappoint me. Xiao Jiang, on the other hand, was so happy that he could not close his mouth. The Beast Kings weren't any better. All of them rubbed their fists and palms together, ready to charge forward. Qin Wushuang was still relatively calm. Everyone, don't be impulsive. Caution is the parent of safety. It's not worth it to fall on the 99th step after walking 100 steps. Everyone was splashed with cold water by Qin Wushuang, and their minds finally calmed down. Hee, the captain is right. Anyway, we've already arrived. Don't worry. Captain, you decide. Facing pairs of eager eyes, Qin Wushuang said in a deep voice, Tai Hong, you're in charge of covering the rear. I'll lead the way in front. You guys keep a certain distance from me. Don't follow too closely, in case danger comes and you're caught off guard. The closer they got to the palace, the more careful they should be. Qin Wushuang did not fly at this time. He simply landed on the ground and trekked on foot. At this time, there was no safer way than walking. The heavy feeling of his feet landing on the ground was not something that could be replaced by other feelings. After about 15 minutes, Qin Wushuang frowned again. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. With his eyesight, not to mention this macroscopic world, he could also calculate very accurately even things that were very surrounding. However, after walking for 15 minutes, he found that the scene in the distance did not shorten the distance at all. In other words, in this 15 minutes they were almost treading on the spot, as if they did not walk at all. However, looking back, they had clearly walked very far, at least 200 to 300 miles. The scenery along the way could prove it. Seeing Qin Wushuang stop, everyone knew that something was wrong. They all walked up and asked one after another, "Captain, what's wrong? Stop. Let me ask you, after walking for so long, do you have a feeling that the goal is getting closer and closer?" These people were all powerful Supreme Tao experts. Qin Wushuang did not point it out. Their intuition only had some faint uneasiness. But being pointed out by Qin Wushuang, they immediately felt that it was very reasonable. "Yeah, why do I feel that no matter how we walk, the distance between that place and us does not seem to shorten? Could it be that the palace is following our rhythm and moving backward?" Lu Tong was the first to speak this time. Lu Xiong smiled and said, "Uncle, are you kidding? The palace will take the initiative to move backward. Even if it does, can it still follow our rhythm and move backward? This is also too mysterious, right?" Just as they were talking, little Jiang suddenly cried out, the palace disappeared." The crowd looked over and saw that the palace had actually disappeared in an instant. All of the clouds, all of the spectacular scenery, seemed to have disappeared cleanly in that instant, as if it had never appeared at all. This bizarre scene made everyone dumbstruck with amazement. Following the disappearance of this palace, everyone exclaimed in disappointment. Just like a child losing his most beloved toy, this disappointed exclamation completely expressed the emotions in their hearts. "How can this be?" Tai Xiong was completely dumbfounded. "What the hell is this playing with us?" Blackwing chuckled coldly. "This is the wonder of the ancient universe, both real and illusory, making you unable to distinguish. Illusion, I guess that this must be an illusion. It's just that this illusion is also too freaking real. It's even more real than a real palace." On the Beast King's side, the nine-tailed Fox King suddenly let out a low sigh. Look over there, look over there." In the direction of his finger, there was a tall pagoda that pierced into the clouds. The pagoda towered into the clouds, emitting the aura of pearls and treasures. It was a spectacular sight, shooting out light that shot thousands of miles away. "Pagoda? Is this an illusion?" Blackwing muttered. "Captain, what should we do?" Everyone felt that their brains weren't working well. The pagoda in front of them seemed so real. If it wasn't for the lesson from the palace just now, they definitely wouldn't have thought that this was an illusion, because everything about this pagoda seemed so real. Whether it was the outline, the scale, the decorations, or the appearance, they all had a real feeling. "You guys stay here and don't move. I'll go take a look." Qin Wushuang made up his mind, activating the yin-yang purple cloud wings, transforming into a purple light, the heavenly branch Kuei wolf twin swords unsheathed, opening up a path in front. The distance of 1,000 miles could be covered in just a few ups and downs. However, the distance to the pagoda was like a mysterious and distant shore that could never be reached. No matter how Qin Wushuang rushed, he couldn't reach the foot of the pagoda. Another illusion? How can there be such a realistic illusion in this world? Indeed, this black magpie star is strange. While Qin Wushuang was lost in thought, suddenly, the golden light around the pagoda abruptly condensed into a ball in the center, like a suspended mirror. After the ball of light condensed into a ball, it suddenly shot out. Boom! The 10,000 rays of golden light shot towards Qin Wushuang like snowflakes filling the sky. Everyone at the back felt their hearts jump to their throats. Captain, Lord Xinghe. The 10,000 rays of golden light were like 10,000 golden flying swords, constantly stabbing over. The density was even tighter than raindrop. Immediately, Qin Wushuang felt a form of unprecedented pressure surging over him. The strength of this pressure was simply beyond his imagination. It was like a boatman in a small boat suddenly seeing a huge wave of thousands of feet in front of him surging over. This kind of power was beyond the range of what he could withstand. At that moment, Qin Wushuang almost thought that the sky was falling down. The pressure was like 10,000 galloping horses, fast and fierce. There was no time to hesitate. Qin Wushuang shouted loudly, turned his body upside down, and quickly rushed back to the rear. The heavenly branch Kuei Wolf's two swords were firmly protecting the vital parts of his real body. Retreat quickly! Retreat! Qin Wushuang shouted as he retreated quickly. Only then did the people behind come to a realization. They didn't have time to think carefully and subconsciously raised their legs to retreat. Behind them, the golden light visible to the naked eye gushed over like a tide, reaching thousands of feet high. The entire space was like a huge paddy field, and the golden light was like a raging golden bull, fiercely plowing the field. Everywhere it went, it was flat, and everything was destroyed. Although Qin Wushuang was not hit by the first force, he still felt his qi and blood surging after being pushed by the force behind. It was extremely uncomfortable. Fortunately, the heavenly branch Kuei Wolf's divine artifact was not just for show. At the critical moment, it clashed with the golden light. Although it could not resist, it still slowed it down. The two flying swords were swept up by the golden light and also flew back. Qin Wushuang hurriedly kept the two swords. His body fell to the ground and his face was pale. Seeing that the golden light's momentum had finally reached a limit and began to retreat, his high-hanging heart also slowly fell back into his chest. It was too dangerous. Just now, he almost thought that he might drown in the golden light. That suffocating pressure was probably more terrifying than the attack of the Master God, right? Qin Wushuang thought with lingering fear. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com, support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 952. Captain, are you all right? The other members all rushed over in concern. Each and every one of them was full of concern. Although they witnessed with their own eyes that the captain was in a very sorry state just now, not only did they not feel that there was any shame in it, they instead admired Qin Wushuang even more. In that kind of situation just now, they were so far away, but they could still feel that pressure that possessed the power to destroy heaven and earth. And the captain was actually still able to escape from it when he was inside. Looks like this captain was indeed not simple. The 7 great beast kings also all walked over in concern. At this time, they already regarded Qin Wushuang as their backbone. Naturally, they were unwilling to see anything happen to Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang shook his head and said with a slight smile, "Impressive, impressive. If not for me realizing the danger one step in advance and making the correct choice, I'm afraid that I would have already been swallowed up by that golden light now. Damn it, this pagoda is indeed an illusory realm." Lu Xiong cursed. Everyone felt very disappointed. The 2 scenes in a row were all illusory realms? Could it be that there was no real scene inside this Grand Canyon? A strong sense of loss welled up in everyone's hearts. Being thwarted consecutively, this feeling was indeed very bad. Even the captain, who had always been invincible in their hearts, almost suffered a big loss this time. The setback in their hearts became even more serious. On the other hand, Qin Wushuang remained calm as he resumed his calm smile. "Everyone, don't be discouraged. No place in the world is an open door for you to enter. Today you and I came here because of fate. I will always have a way to bring you in." Qin Wushuang's heroic spirit suddenly emerged. These words made everyone's spirits tremble. Right, everyone, don't be discouraged. How can great fortune be so easy to obtain? Without any setbacks, easily entering, how great of a fortune can there be? Only after experiencing wind and rain can there be a dazzling rainbow. Tai Hong also started to cheer everyone up. He he, Captain, these illusory realms, let's not believe it now. I think it's all an illusion, a trap, Lu Xiong said naively. However, Qin Wushuang shook his head and said, no, since it's an illusion, it's naturally real and fake. If you think that it's an illusion every time, then you might lose sight of the real place. That's right, we can't give up eating for fear of choking. Among the countless wrong paths, there must be one that leads to the truth and light. Captain, look! Look over there! At this time, someone shouted again. This time, it was even more mysterious. In that direction, a bridge that looked like a rainbow appeared, as if it was connected to another world. Countless auspicious birds fluttered above the rainbow bridge. The perfect arc made the rainbow bridge look exceptionally spectacular. Illusion, illusion. Lu Xiong kept shaking his head. His head was as big as a rattle drum, and he kept cursing, it's all an illusion. There's more over there. Look. In the north, there was another incredible scene. In the void, a long flight of stairs appeared, extending from the horizon all the way to the horizon. This flight of stairs looked like it was carved out of white jade, giving people a very holy feeling. There were no handrails on both sides of the flight of stairs. It was just suspended in the air. It extended all the way to the sky. This flight of stairs seemed to lead to a magical world on the other side, filling people with the desire to explore. The rainbow bridge, the flight of stairs, plus the palace and the pagoda from before, the appearance of all these strange phenomena clearly indicated a fact. Even if they didn't enter the Pantheon temple, they had already arrived at the edge. Clang, 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 clang. Suddenly, a burst of strange sounds came from the void. In everyone's field of vision, 8 huge space doors appeared out of thin air around the huge sky curtain. The entrances of the space doors showed all kinds of strange scenes. Some were sad, some were happy, some were sacred, some were evil, some were resplendent, some were withered and dejected. Space doors? A strange idea flashed in Qin Wushuang's mind. Looking at the scene before him, Qin Wushuang's heart surged with a strange feeling. Was it time to choose the entrance? Which door to choose? Would it be life or death? Would it be transcendence or destruction? Everyone's breathing quickened. It was as if there was no need to explain, everyone knew that the time to choose had come. In everyone's eyes, the fanaticism had already burned to the extreme. An impulsive thought seemed to be calling them, urging them, encouraging them to move forward, to move forward. However, in the end, their gaze still fell on Qin Wushuang's face. They could only make the final decision when this pillar of support had spoken. Captain, are we going to make a decision? Tai Hong asked in a low voice. Follow me, let's go. Qin Wushuang's eyes were locked on the space door in the east. Because, from this door, he saw a kind of hope for life. This was not just a kind of intuition, but when he saw that door, the bloodline inherited from his master in his bones quickly surged. A kind of desire to explore forced him to pass through that door. This must be my master teaching me to make a choice. Qin Wushuang knew that such a strange bloodline surge must have come from the part of his master's bloodline that was passed down to him. There was no turning back. Under such circumstances, if even his master, the Holy Emperor's sensing ability, was unreliable, then Qin Wushuang's own judgment was even more unreliable. Moreover, he himself was the one who most approved of that door. This was called master and disciple of the same mind. Great minds think alike. That space door happened to be the most terrifying and also the most ferocious door in the mirror image. It was as if it was not a space door that led to hope at all, but a space door that led to an eternal land of death, to that hell. The scene that flashed in everyone's eyes was as if the ghosts of the 18 layers of hell were suffering 100 hells of purgatory. However, Qin Wushuang had chosen this door. Hell and heaven seemed to always be separated by only a thought. A thought to be heaven, a thought to be hell. Boom. All of the figures passed through the spatial gate. The moment they passed, everyone's body seemed to suddenly relax a lot. When they looked around again, it was calm. Everything returned to the original appearance of the canyon. Where was heaven? Where was hell? Where were the palaces and pagodas? Where was the rainbow bridge and the heavenly stairway? Everything was just like a dream. But thinking back to this dream, it felt so real and so deep. Party leader, how could this be? Everyone felt that it was inconceivable. However, Qin Wushuang chuckled out. Haven't you guys realized that we've already passed a hurdle? That space door should be the first checkpoint, right? But what's worth celebrating is that we've already passed it. Hopefully, the road ahead will be smoother. Passed? Everyone was stunned for a moment before their faces were filled with ecstasy. Right at this moment, the Lion King's spirit consciousness communication Jade token sent out yet another message. Your Majesty Lion King, there was a strong power that entered the heaven-reaching canyon earlier on. That power seemed to be able to destroy the entire heaven-reaching canyon. It's extremely domineering. The first thought that came to the Lion King's mind was that the Thunder Master God had arrived. Your Majesty, there's another piece of news. The Master God of the Celestial Phenomenon continent has arrived as well. Right now, the situation on the Black Magpie Star is getting more and more chaotic. With two powerful beings facing off against each other, the situation is extremely delicate. By the looks of it, both sides seem to be restraining themselves. However, a battle seems to be about to break out at any moment. The Lion King nodded his head. Well done. Continue to observe. Report to me immediately if there's any movement. Remember, listen to my orders at all times. All leaders of the beast race are not to listen to rumors or be bewitched by others. Remember, there must be no internal strife within the colossal beast race. The Lion King recounted the situation outside once more. Qin Wushuang was somewhat surprised. A strong power invading? Could it really be that Thunder Master God? It must be him. The Lion King said hatefully. If it were anyone else like Napoleon Sun and the others, my underlings would know about it. Furthermore, they've witnessed the might of Napoleon Sun before. Judging from their tone, they're clearly even stronger than Napoleon Sun. Then, they can only be Master Gods. Qin Wushuang murmured. Master Gods came way too quickly. Seems like the Ferret and the Elephant King have still fallen for the Thunder Master God's tricks and allowed him to dig out some information. Otherwise, there's no way this Thunder Master God could have made his way to the great sky connecting canyon so quickly. Party leader, what should we do then? The moment they heard that the Master Gods were invading the great sky connecting canyon, everyone felt a sense of loss in their hearts. Even if it were a high-level heavenly god like Napoleon Sun, they would still be able to hold their own in this cursed place of the great sky connecting canyon. But now that a Master God had come personally, they did not even have any thoughts of resisting. Even if they did, it would be futile. The might of a Master God was definitely not something that they could fight against. In the face of a Master God, any fantasies would turn extremely pale and powerless. Party leader, we've got to pick up the pace. This place is only hundreds of thousands of miles away from the outskirts. Given the speed of a Master God, he probably wouldn't even need 2 hours, right? Disregarding all other external factors, if a Master God were to find this place, it would only take 4 hours. And that's an optimistic estimate. I wonder if that Master God would be able to cross through the Void Gate? Qin Wushuang was clear that the strength of a Master God was definitely not something that they could fight against. No matter what method they used, there was no way they could fight against a Master God. The best method was to not face the Master God. Once they did, It was very likely that there would be no other way out but a dead end. The difference in strength was too great. A master god was indeed an existence that exceeded their limits. Even if Qin Wushuang had a heavenly venerate artifact, or even a holy emperor artifact, they were all just fleeting clouds. With his current cultivation, if he really faced a master god, be it a heavenly venerate artifact or a master god artifact, they would not be of any use at all. We already have a way out. The only good news now is that we've crossed through a void gate. This might be the greatest guarantee that we can escape the pursuit of a master god. No matter what, we have to move forward. Only by constantly moving forward can we forever maintain a distance from the enemy. At this point, Qin Wushuang no longer hesitated. He led the group and continued moving forward. Brothers, the 30th is almost over. The current monthly vote rule is that only 2 votes can be cast in 24 hours. If everyone has 4 or 5 votes and does not vote now, Xinghe will not have the chance to enjoy everyone's full support tomorrow. Don't waste it. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 953. Passing through the first spatial door, Qin Wushuang and the rest continued to advance without stopping. Along the way, they did not encounter any more trouble after crossing 10,000 miles. It was unexpectedly smooth. But now, everyone knew that they had already entered the core region of the Grand Canyon to heaven. That strange spatial door already made everything clear. This Grand Canyon to heaven indeed had its mystical side. Perhaps the legend was true. The sky gradually darkened. Qin Wushuang looked at the surrounding terrain and said, "Set up camp here. Best to find a cave." Originally, there was not much difference between them, these deity Tao powerhouses, day and night. Even if it was night, they could still travel. But considering that this place was so strange, if they traveled at night, they might encounter big trouble if they were the slightest bit careless. Hence, they might as well set up camp here. Captain, what kind of place do you think this Pantheon temple is? Could there be some treasures or something? Lu Xiong asked heartlessly. Everyone was very interested and gathered around Qin Wushuang, wanting to hear their captain's opinion. Qin Wushuang said, "A place like this that seizes heaven's good fortune, not to mention treasures, there are definitely good things. It depends on what you want. I want a deity weapon. Best is an axe or a spiked club or something. I like this kind of giant weapon the most." Lu Xiong did not hide his ambition at all. That bit of ambition. Blackwing sneered and said, "If the Pantheon Temple is really a place to imprison evil demons, I think there might even be a Master God weapon." Master God weapon? My God, if there is a Master God weapon, then we'll really be rich. Compared to a Master God weapon, what does that crystal stone count for? Lu Xiong laughed silly. These words made Gu Feng unhappy. Crystal stones are also divided into top grade and low grade. If it's a top grade crystal stone, its value won't lose to a Master God weapon. It's even more valuable than a Master God weapon. Top grade crystal stone, have you seen it before? Blackwing asked with a grin. 10 grade crystal stone is already something that can be encountered but not sought. 10 grade crystal stone, I've never heard of it. As for 12th grade top grade crystal stone, it seems to be a legendary existence. Gu Feng muttered, "Just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist." Everyone knew that Gu Feng had a special possessive desire for crystals, so everyone was not surprised. However, if they had to choose, they would feel that sovereign artifacts were more realistic than top-grade crystals. After all, many sovereigns were capable of forging sovereign artifacts. Crystals, on the other hand, were naturally formed by heaven and earth. They were created by Mother Earth and Father Heaven. They were not something that could be refined by human hand. They could only be found by chance. Captain, what do you want? Little Jiang was curious. Qin Wuxuang laughed. I want to find a tunnel to leave this plane. For the divine weapons, if the number is limited, I will not fight with you guys. If there are other good things, I won't hesitate to use them if I need them. Of course, Captain, you have the priority to choose. No one could object to this point, including the 7 Beast Kings. It was already a miracle that they could reach this place. Without Lord Xing He leading the way, there was no way they could have reached this place. As they were speaking, Qin Wuxuang suddenly stood up. His face turned horrifying as he strode out of the cave. Tai Hong, gather the troops and have everyone find a place to hide. The safer the place, the better. Everyone, hold your breaths and cut off all signs of life. Avoid the soul search of the Master Gods. Master God? Everyone was shocked. He's here already? Qin Wuxuang's face was extremely terrible. He's here. To think that he would be this fast. This Thunder Master God is much more frightening than we had imagined. Hurry, hide. Don't hesitate. Qin Wuxuang ordered. An uneasy feeling surged through his heart. Once this Master God got close, it would truly be hard to tell how effective he would be if he were to hide. Whether or not they would be discovered, that was really up to the heavens. At that thought, he waved his hand. Forget it. There's no need to hide. Just hide here. In the surroundings, there's only this cave that can cover up the ripples of your souls. If you hide outside, you'll be exposed even faster. The name of a Master God was indeed extremely intimidating. Even though all of these powerful beings of the divine state were itinerant cultivators, they were usually arrogant and untamed characters who reigned supreme over a region. But at this moment, all of them were silent like cicadas in winter. It was as though they had realized that the judgment of fate was about to arrive, as their faces were extremely grim. It was just as they knew. Once a Master God arrived and discovered them, there would be no miracles that could happen. In the face of a Master God, they didn't even have a chance to strike out, let alone fight back. Seems like the prey isn't too far away from me. In the void, a voice that was filled with an immense might drifted over faintly. Even though this voice sounded really close, in reality, the Thunder Master God might be tens of thousands of miles away. The width of the coverage of his soul was truly frightening. Even Qin Wuxuang could not determine the distance between them at all. By the looks of it, if the Thunder Master God could pass through the first space gate, there was an 80% to 90% chance that he would be able to find his way here. Right now, their only hope was that the Thunder Master God would not be able to pass through the first space gate and enter the wrong one, being swept away by the chaotic currents of the void. This was the only ray of hope that could ensure that nothing would happen to them. Otherwise, the only possibility left for them to face the Master God. The only difference would be whether they would face it earlier or later. Given the current situation, there was definitely no way they could wait for the appearance of the second space gate. Even if they were to take a step back, whether or not there was a second space gate was something else entirely. These illusions are rather interesting. Hue. There are so many doors. How should we choose? Haha. Interesting. When they heard that voice, everyone's hearts leaped right into their throats. Whether or not the Thunder Master God could pass through the space gate would determine their fate. Everyone held their breaths as though time had come to a standstill. Every single second was ever so difficult. For a long time, it seemed as though there were no more sounds coming from the void. However, no one dared to be optimistic, nor did anyone feel as though they had heaved out a long sigh of relief. That was because they still could not be certain whether or not the Thunder Master God had passed through the space gate. Just when everyone was feeling suspicious and looking at each other in dismay, suddenly Qin Wuxuang stood up like a sword and walked out of the cave in large strides. "Party leader, where are you going?" Qin Wuxuang's tone was low. The Thunder Master God has already passed through the space gate and is getting closer. I can almost be certain that he is getting closer and closer to us. Everyone's hearts sank right to the bottom of the valley. The Thunder Master God had passed through the space gate? Then, wouldn't they just have to wait for his judgment after this? A look of despair surfaced on everyone's faces. This time around, they did not even dare to dream of a miracle anymore. In front of the Master God, there was no way they could create any sort of unexpected miracle. Everyone, calm down. Don't act rashly. Don't show any signs of being surprised. I'll think of a way. The heavens will always leave a door open. Don't be disheartened. You must definitely bring out the magnanimity that you should have. Even if you were to die, don't put on such a cowardly look in front of the enemy. These words were just like the morning bell, causing everyone's hearts to shudder. That was right. As powerful beings, they couldn't possibly behave too wretchedly under such circumstances, could they? At this moment, the difference in strength was clear. Looking at how Qin Wushuang was still so calm under such circumstances, even though no one could think of any other ideas he could come up with, they could not help but feel a sense of hope for Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang walked out of the cave and made hand seals, summoning out a person from his storage space. This person was none other than Lin Jingfeng. Lin Jingfeng, who had been subdued by Qin Wushuang as a puppet, greeted cautiously, "Greetings, Master." Lin Jingfeng, cut the crap. Are you familiar with the Thunder Master God? Uncle Thunder, I'm very familiar with him. Alright, then you have to do this and that, understand? Qin Wushuang instructed him with his consciousness. Lin Jingfeng nodded his head repeatedly. Remember, right now, you have to forget about your identity as my servant and display the demeanor that a peerless genius should have. Understand? Understood, Master. As a genius, Lin Jingfeng's brain was pretty good. Naturally, he had this bit of comprehension ability. Alright, that's what we'll do. Remember, don't let the cat out of the bag. Qin Wushuang instructed once more. Right at this moment, that deep voice rang out by his ears once more, the Beast King of the colossal beast race and some other clowns. Evidently, the Thunder Master God's consciousness had already scouted the area. Sweeping his gaze, he discovered Lin Jingfeng, whom he had been searching for all this while. Dear nephew Jingfeng, is that you? The Thunder Master God asked in disbelief. Lin Jingfeng howled out leisurely, Uncle Thunder, it's me. What are you doing here? Hearing that hearty cry of Lin Jingfeng's, the nerves of the Thunder Master God that had been stretched taut all this while relaxed considerably. Thank the heavens! Nothing had happened to Lin Jingfeng. A bolt of lightning streaked across the skies, bringing with it a shocking aura as though the heavens were collapsing. That mighty figure of the Thunder Master God had already landed on the ground. When he caught sight of the real Lin Jingfeng, even a powerful being like the Thunder Master God was visibly moved. Dear nephew Jingfeng, you're alright? That's great news. What are you doing here? Lin Jingfeng chuckled out, Uncle Thunder, to think that I would bump into you here. This little nephew of mine is willful and has caused Uncle Thunder to worry about me. I'm ashamed. Hooey, you're treating me as an outsider with those words. As long as you're alright, that's great news. What's up with all these people? For a moment or so, the Thunder Master God could not figure it out. However, when he saw that Lin Jingfeng was fine, he relaxed as well. Even if these people had any ill intentions with him around, there wouldn't be any problems. Lin Jingfeng chuckled out, Uncle Thunder, I'll be honest with you. You'd better not complain about me later on. I heard that there's an ancient immortal legacy in this canyon, so I wanted to come and take a look. However, this place is also known as a place cursed by the evil demons. If I were to bring it up clearly that I wanted to barge into this place, Nebo Sun and the others would definitely object to it. Therefore, I invited the Beast Kings and the others over. Look at their expressions. Actually, none of them were willing to come. They were forced into a corner by me. The Thunder Master God thought to himself, so, that's the case. Looking at how those few beast kings did not know whether to laugh or cry and were trembling in fear, he knew that they must have truly been forced into this by this willful junior nephew of his. It was no wonder that the Snow Ferret King and the Elephant King were so vague about it. Come to think of it, dear nephew Jingfeng must have threatened them before. The moment he thought of that, the Thunder Master God chuckled out instead. Dear nephew, you've really scared everyone out of their wits. Right now it's a complete mess out there. Qin Wushuang looked over at the Lion King inadvertently. The head of the Lion King twitched slightly as well, as though he was agreeing to something. If you want to know what happened next, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 954. No matter how observant the Thunder Master God was, there was no way he could have known that Lin Jingfeng had already become someone else's puppet. As for Lin Jingfeng's behavior, there was nothing out of the ordinary either. Even though the Thunder Master God found it somewhat inconceivable, he had been observing Lin Jingfeng coldly in the dark. After testing out all sorts of methods, he could be 100% sure that this was indeed Lin Jingfeng and not someone else impersonating him. After finding Lin Jingfeng, the Thunder Master God was in a good mood. As for the others, he naturally did not care too much about them. In his eyes, the cultivation states of this group of people were nothing more than ants. The moment the Thunder Master God appeared, the deterrence was indeed immense. All of them were filled with fear and trepidation as they felt an immense pressure in their hearts. Even though the sudden appearance of Lin Jingfeng was completely out of their expectations, this unexpected move of his had saved them from the fate of certain death. However, in the face of this mighty Master God, they were still trembling with fear. But of course, Qin Wushuang's fear was somewhat exaggerated. In truth, ever since the first moment the Thunder Master God appeared, Qin Wushuang's mind had been spinning non-stop, thinking about how to deal with this frightening powerful being. No matter how he thought about it, this was the only move that Lin Jingfeng could use. Within the cave, after hearing Lin Jingfeng's introduction, the Thunder Master God's gaze rested on Qin Wushuang. You are Xinghe Wu Xinghe? That's right, Lord Thunder. Qin Wushuang was neither servile nor overbearing. Hui, right now in the outside world there are really many rumors about you. And here you are. Tell me, if you are from the celestial mainland, why are you seeking refuge with Jingfeng? Lord Thunder, it's true that we are from the celestial mainland. However, ever since the moment the great illusory Sun Divine Palace decided to deal with us, we no longer had a choice. Could it be that just because we are itinerant cultivators from the celestial mainland, we should just allow the great illusory Sun Divine Palace to bully us? The Thunder Master God nodded his head. I've heard about your affairs. That Sun Dongshan of the great illusory Sun Divine Palace has admitted to this matter as well. Lin Jingfeng took the opportunity to add on, Uncle Thunder, the internal strife of the celestial mainland isn't a bad thing for us. Yes, Jingfeng, this matter of yours is still a little. Do you know that if you leave without a word, you might cause a big problem? Lin Jingfeng chuckled and said, Uncle Lei, I know that this is a little inappropriate, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Yes, how did your investigation go? The Thunder Master God did not suspect anything at all. The way he saw it, Lin Jingfeng had no problem subduing these people. We've found out that this journey is very likely to be related to many ancient legend. Your nephew is wondering if there are any great treasures here. Now that Uncle Lei is here, it's great that you're here to preside over the situation. The Thunder Master God paused for a moment before replying, Oh, Jingfeng, the main reason why I'm here is actually to look for you. It's a pity that the Ferret and the Elephant King refused to tell the truth. The expressions of the 7 Beast Kings immediately turned gloomy and dejected. Lin Jingfeng chuckled and said, It's also my fault for being too firm at that time. They didn't dare to disobey my orders. Uncle Lei, this is also a misunderstanding. I really don't want to leak any information about this place. I especially don't want the people of Celestial Phenomenon to catch wind of this. The Thunder Master God nodded his head. Jingfeng, if you can handle this matter well, it'll be something that will cause quite a stir. The Wind Master God will definitely be elated. I still need Uncle Lei to preside over the situation. Lin Jingfeng probed once more. However, the Thunder Master God did not know that the Lin Jingfeng before him was no longer the Lin Jingfeng of the past. He did not beat around the bush as he said in a low voice, "Nephew Jingfeng, there are many powerful beings from Celestial Phenomenon right now, and there are even Master Gods amongst them. Even though I'm here, I can't tarry for too long." This was exactly what Lin Jingfeng wanted to hear. Everyone else wanted to hear as well. "Uncle Lei, you're leaving?" Lin Jingfeng pretended to be surprised. Hue, it should be fine to stay for a while. Right now, the situation in the outside world hasn't gotten out of control yet. We'll speed up our exploration tomorrow and check out just what secrets this place that is known as the Cursed Land of the Demons has. Jingfeng, I have a feeling that this place is definitely not simple. When they heard that, Qin Wushuang and the others were extremely depressed. However, Qin Wushuang's mind was really sharp. When he heard that the situation in the outside world had not gotten out of control yet, he was even more resolute in his decision. He turned around and looked at the Lion King, who nodded his head gently once more. "Lord Lei, young Master Lin, you guys continue chatting. Your subordinates will take our leave first." The Thunder Master God did not reply. However, Lin Jingfeng waved his hand casually. "Take your leave. With you guys here, the two of us won't be able to have a good chat." Qin Wushuang and the others put on a look as though they had just been pardoned as they headed out. The Thunder Master God sent them off with his gaze before asking, "Jingfeng, are these people reliable?" Lin Jingfeng scoffed coldly, "Wu Xinghe and the others are stray dogs. If they don't seek protection from us, there's nowhere for them to go. Furthermore, I've promised them that the moment any sort of miraculous encounter is unlocked, I'll definitely share some benefits with them. With threats and promises, they have no choice but to listen to me." The Thunder Master God was heartened, feeling that this nephew of his had truly matured quite a bit. Not bad. However, we've still got to be mindful of our limits and not trust others too easily. This is especially the case for that Wu Xinghe. We've got to be on our guard. Don't worry, Uncle Lei. That Wu Xinghe can be considered as an untamable genius as well. It's just a pity that he's an itinerant cultivator and has no backing. I'm thinking of subduing him so that he can be my right-hand man in the future. Otherwise, why would I be so courteous to them?" The Thunder Master God nodded his head. Since this was his nephew's intention, there was nothing else he could say. If you wanted others to be dead set on following you, you've got to put on a show of convincing them with your morals, right? Walking out of the cave abode, everyone found a spacious piece of land and set up camp there. Everyone gathered together, not daring to make a single sound as they conversed with their consciousness. Using their consciousness to converse in such a small space meant that they did not have to worry about the Master God intercepting their consciousness. After all, the range of their consciousness communication did not extend out at all. "Lion King, hurry and inform all of your right-hand men to organize a beast stampede and have them spread rumors to attack the bases of the Celestial Phenomenon mainland." Attack the bases of the Celestial Phenomenon mainland. That's right. Since you want the Thunder Master God to leave, it makes more sense for him to attack the bases of the Windcloud continent. Hue, Lion King, you only know one thing and not the other. If you want to attack the bases of the Windcloud continent, is there a need for the Thunder Master God to head out personally? He's going to order you guys to head out and preside over the situation while he reaps the fruits of your labor. The Lion King froze up, feeling that Qin Wushuang's words made a lot of sense. However, attacking the bases of the celestial phenomenon mainland was something that the Thunder Master God would love to see happen. Once they attacked the bases of the celestial phenomenon mainland, coupled with the rumors, there was no way the celestial phenomenon mainland would let the matter rest. By then, the conflict between the celestial phenomenon mainland and the wind cloud continent would definitely escalate. By then, it would be hard for the Thunder Master God not to head out even if he wanted to. Blackwing nodded his head repeatedly. When he looked at Qin Wushuang, there was clearly an additional look of reverence in his eyes. This master of his was truly incredible. To be able to handle things with such ease in the face of a master god, that sort of bearing and guts was something that they could not compare with. At the very least, judging from the current situation, that sudden move of his had indeed managed to stabilize the Thunder Master God. Everyone's fates of certain death had been saved all of a sudden. That feeling of joy from escaping from the jaws of death had them filled with even more confidence towards Qin Wushuang. Lion King, remember this. Attacking the bases of the celestial phenomenon mainland is just a gesture. You mustn't get caught up in the killing. This is a fake move. The goal is to escalate the conflict between both parties so that the celestial phenomenon mainland would think that the wind cloud continent was the one who instigated the beast stampede. After that, we'll think of a way to spread the news of the treasures of the great heaven-reaching canyon. The more mysterious it is, the better. Spread the news of this place out? The Lion King was stunned once more. Wasn't that just finding trouble for himself? Lion King, the situation right now is that we have to stir up the situation before we can let the Thunder Master God leave. Only then will we have time to continue our operation. Even if we're only leading by 10 days to half a month, that's more than enough. If we're unable to reap any benefits even after taking the lead, we can only say that we're not blessed enough. We have to turn the great heaven-reaching canyon into a place of conflict and have both parties fight it out. That's the only way we'll have room to maneuver around. Otherwise, if the Thunder Master God refuses to leave, we won't stand a chance at all. Qin Wushuang was definitely not belittling himself. The might of that Thunder Master God was way too strong. Even a single gaze or action from him was enough to have them shuddering in fear. Under such an oppressive atmosphere, it was clearly impossible for them to try and pull off any trick. The Eagle King at the side agreed. Your Majesty, Lord Xing, he is right. This is the only solution we have right now. If the situation doesn't get messed up and the Thunder Master God refuses to leave, it's only a matter of time before we give ourselves away. That evil god. I don't want to spend even a single day with him. That's right. Lion King, make your decision. Lion King, make your decision. The Lion King nodded his head and began to issue out orders using his consciousness. Even though the Snow Marten King and the Elephant King had met with misfortune, there were many elders and protectors under the direct command of the Lion King who held a lot of authority. These elders were the ones in charge of driving the beast stampede. In the span of a single night, millions of beast stampedes were enraged when they found out about the deaths of the Snow Marten King and the Elephant King. All of the spirit beasts of the entire colossal beast race surged out in search of the culprit. When they found out that the culprit was someone from the celestial phenomenon continent, the beast stampede went into a frenzy. Millions of beast stampedes began to head toward the base of the celestial phenomenon continent in a frenzy. With the activation of the beast stampede, the most horrifying calamity of the entire Black Magpie star had descended once more. Wherever the beast stampede passed by, it was practically a complete mess as everything was leveled to the ground. On the side of the celestial phenomenon continent, they had not expected that the beast stampede was headed for them. By the time they reacted to it, they had already suffered a huge loss. The situation of the battle was escalating rapidly. Everything was progressing according to Qin Wushuang's plan. Rumors were flying all around as all sorts of different versions of rumors popped up one after another. On the side of the celestial phenomenon continent, when they found out that the beast stampede was driven by the wind cloud continent, they began to erupt as well. This was especially the case for that master god Ding Yundu, who was absolutely astounded. He had not expected that the wind cloud continent would be so brazen as to provoke them. Today's update is going to be a little late. No matter how late I write, I'll definitely fulfill my promise of 8 chapters. Definitely not late. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 955. However, the 1,000 men that they had brought from the celestial phenomenon continent were clearly like a mantis trying to stop a chariot against a beast stampede of millions. Ding Yundu was not so rash as to do something so impulsive. He knew that the root of the problem was still the wind cloud continent. Therefore, he decided to avoid the main force and strike at the weak point. Even if he could not fight against the beast stampede, he could still go to the wind cloud continent to reason with them. Since Ding Yundu had decided to strike, the decisiveness of a master god was definitely extremely frightening. With a thunderous momentum, he charged into the base of the wind cloud continent. He wanted the Thunder Master God to meet him. Clearly, Ding Yundu would definitely not be able to meet the Thunder Master God. After cursing for a long time, there was no one from the wind cloud continent. This enraged Ding Yundu completely. He felt as though his pride was being challenged to a pulp. Since when had a master god been ignored to such an extent when he challenged others to a battle? Did they treat him as heir? Thunder Master God, since you're holed up like a turtle, don't blame me for using some barbaric methods. We're all people of status. You wouldn't want my methods to implicate your subordinates, right? Ding Yundu's final bit of restraint did not have any effect. No one replied to him at all. With his bottom line broken, Ding Yundu hollered, "Since that's the case, I'll offend you then." Spreading out his arms, a gigantic saber roared in his hands like a ferocious tiger. Then, he shook his arms and turned them into a saber light in the air. Then, he chopped down. Clang! The saber light sliced through the air at an unparalleled speed and struck the outer wall of the base. Boom! Spider-like cracks appeared on the outer wall. Following that, the entire castle seemed to be quaking as countless panicked cries rang out from within. Countless figures bolted out of the base and fled towards the back. Initially holed up inside, Naboxen knew that if he did not show himself, the entire base would be destroyed and everyone would be massacred. Bracing himself, he rushed out and said in a submissive tone, "Cloud-crossing Master God, we've already agreed on a temporary truce. As a Master God, why are you tearing up the agreement?" "Agreement? You have the cheek to talk about an agreement? Have the Thunder Master God come out and reason with me." Ding Yundu was furious. "The Thunder Master God is not here. Cloud-crossing Sovereign, if you intend to use your power to bully the weak, we won't be able to resist. However, now that the Thunder Master God is back, he will definitely not let this matter rest." "Are you threatening me?" Ding Yundu's restraint did not mean that he was afraid of the Thunder Master God. He was just thinking that peace would bring wealth, and didn't want the conflict to worsen. Right now, the Fengyun continent had gone too far, provoking them again and again. His patience was completely broken. "Naboxen, with your skills, killing you is as easy as killing a dog. You said that the Thunder Master God isn't around? Fine then, I'll wait here for him for 3 days. If you don't show up in 3 days, then don't blame me for being ruthless. All of you, get into the castle. If they manage to escape, I'll kill every single one of them I see." Ding Yundu shouted coldly, "Also, regarding the million beast horde, you guys will deal with it the same way you instigated it. You have to compensate us tenfold for our losses." "Beast-tide?" Naboxen was dumbfounded. Master Cloud Crossing, what does this beast tide have to do with us? Humph, still want to play dumb? If the beast tide has nothing to do with you guys, then am I the one who instigated it? Naboxen, do you think that I can't kill you guys to establish my dominance? After saying that, Ding Yundu's eyes suddenly narrowed into slits. With a flick, a golden beam of light shot out from his hands and struck the forehead of a heavenly supreme Tao powerful being who was standing outside the castle. Piak! The golden light pierced through his body. Without being able to resist at all, this mighty second calamity heavenly supreme Tao powerful being exploded. His spirit and physical body exploded at the same time. A Master God's mystic skill. This was a Master God's mystic skill. Naboxen was enraged. You? Ding Yundu replied nonchalantly, what about me? If you spout any more nonsense, you'll be next. Scram into the castle. You guys better pray for yourselves in these 3 days. If the Thunder Master God doesn't give me an explanation within these 3 days, he can only come back to collect your corpses. Naboxen opened his mouth as though he wanted to say something. However, after being glared at by Ding Yundu's sharp eyes, he immediately swallowed all his words back into his mouth. With a stifled snort, he flew back in the direction of the castle with a belly full of rage. He called out, everyone, enter the castle. Don't mess around. Even though he was burning with rage, he did not dare to challenge Ding Yundu's authority at all. Once a Master God-level powerful being said something ruthless, if one dared to go against it, that would be the same as pushing oneself onto the path of death. Ding Yundu snorted coldly as he turned into a long beam of light and disappeared into the void. The moment Naboxen entered the castle, he cursed out loud, arrogant! Motherf * King arrogant! He's the only Master God in the entire world. What's there to be arrogant about? Such verbal venting could only soothe one's emotions and was of no help. He had to contact the Thunder Master God. Within the Grand Sky-reaching canyon, the Thunder Master God was discussing with Lin Jingfeng about how to explore. When he received Naboxen's report, he was truly enraged. How did this happen? Naboxen was extremely aggrieved. I don't know either. That Ding Yundu seems to have gone mad. The moment he arrived, he bombed our base. Right now, he's threatening to give us 3 days. If you don't return within 3 days and give him an explanation, he said that by then, you can only collect our corpses. The face of the Thunder Master God flashed with a purplish shade of green. This was a sign that his killing intent was skyrocketing. Uncle Thunder, what's wrong? The Thunder Master God waved his hand and instructed, you guys stay put for now and don't provoke him. I'll rush back right away. When they heard that, Qin Wushuang and the others felt their hearts blossom. However, they did not dare to show it at all. Dear nephew Jingfeng, wait for me here. I'll head back to settle some matters. That Master God of the Celestial Phenomenon mainland has gone overboard and killed his way into our base. He declared that if I don't return within 3 days, he'll kill everyone. This Ding Yundu is truly arrogant. Huh! Lin Jingfeng was shocked. Is that fella crazy? Is he bent on starting a war between both parties? I'm not sure about the exact situation yet. The beast stampede of the colossal beast race. Heis, it's a long story. Jingfeng, don't be rash here. It's best if you wait for me to return. Lin Jingfeng was submissive. Uncle Thunder, go on. The matters of the base are more important. The Thunder Master God sighed and turned around to look at Qin Wushuang and the others. His gaze was deep, as though he wanted to see through their inner thoughts. The few of you, listen up. Focus on assisting young Master Jingfeng, and you'll have a bright future ahead of you. If you harbor any thoughts of betrayal, given the size of the Black Magpie Star, I'll make sure that you guys have nowhere to hide. With that, the Thunder Master God's celestial body shone with a purplish-green glow and disappeared into the void. He had put in quite a bit of effort before entering. Now that he was out, it was a walk in the park. The Thunder Master God did not stop at all as he flew in the direction of the base. He had initially wanted to rush back to the base in one go. But on second thought, if he were to head out just like that, Ding Yundu would definitely sense something. If the secret of the heaven-reaching canyon were to be exposed, wouldn't that be extremely inconvenient? Thus, he decided to slow down his speed. After all, he had 3 days, which was more than enough for him to rush back to the base. As for Lin Jingfeng's side, he was not worried in the least bit. Those fellas might not necessarily submit to Lin Jingfeng 100%, but taming those unruly vagrant martial artists would require time. He did not believe that those people would have the guts to go against the massive wind cloud continent. It was not that he had not considered the possibility that those people might be spies, but he dismissed that thought immediately. If they were spies, the price to pay would be way too high. There were so many people from the great illusory Sun Divine Palace who had died. To put on a show of being spies? That did not make sense. Furthermore, if they were to be spies, there was no way they would rely solely on Lin Jingfeng, much less bring him over here. To be spies, staying in the base would be the best choice. Because of that reasoning, the Thunder Master God could not see any loopholes at all. But it was no wonder that he was this way. No matter how rich his imagination was, he could not have imagined that this Lin Jingfeng whom he was chatting and laughing with was already someone else's puppet. Qin Wushuang did not say anything the entire time, gesturing for everyone to keep their mouths shut while observing the observant finger jade plate. It was only after ascertaining that the Thunder Master God had truly left that he heaved out a long sigh of relief. He then let out a bitter smile. Everyone, it's time to get moving. However, Lin Jingfeng bowed down respectfully. Master, your subordinate is fearful. Your subordinate is fearful. Forget it. You're just following orders. You won't be punished. Well done. Lin Jingfeng's face looked as though he had been whipped. With his soul being controlled, a single thought from his master could destroy him. Even if he had thousands of disloyal thoughts, he would not dare to express them. Furthermore, the poison of the divine venomous puppet was something that could brainwash even one's soul. Not only was it used to intimidate him, it could even brainwash him and subtly influence him so that he would be loyal to his master. Tai Hong and the black-winged bat were not surprised at all. At the start, they were a little puzzled by Lin Jingfeng's sudden appearance. But they soon figured it out. As it turned out, Lin Jingfeng was the same as black-winged bat, being turned into a puppet as well. Everyone's understanding of Qin Wushuang could not help but improve by a notch. One must know that Lin Jingfeng was a genius that appeared once in 100,000 years. The last disciple that the #1 master god of the wind cloud mainland was most proud of. At this moment, the 7 beast kings were completely in awe of Qin Wushuang as well. How could someone who could subdue Lin Jingfeng and toy with a master god in the palms of his hands be simple? If this lad was already this incredible at such a young age, wouldn't he be even more amazing in the future? The beast kings who were initially hesitant now had their confidence firmed up completely. Lord Xinghe, I'm truly in awe of you. The Lion King praised from the bottom of his heart. The other beast kings nodded their heads as well. Lord Xinghe, we're extremely confident right now. We believe that you'll definitely be able to lead us out of this predicament. Qin Wushuang waved it off with his hands. Don't be in a hurry to flatter me. Sending the Thunder Master God away was a risky move as well. Whether or not we can emerge victorious in the end will depend on our fate. I'll still say the same thing. I'm not the savior of your black magpie star. Everything will still depend on your own hard work. You've got to walk out of this. This is the key to breaking free of control for your black magpie star. That's right, Lord Xinghe. No matter what, our colossal beast race will follow you in life and death from now on. I hope that you won't despise us. Hue, there's no need to say all that. Since we're all allies, it's only right that we help one another and work together. Qin Wushuang was not overly domineering, but this time around, his leadership position had been cemented perfectly. If you wish to know more about the future, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 956. Ding Yundu did not have to wait for 3 days before he sensed that the Thunder Master God had returned. Smirking coldly, he said, "Seems like you're still afraid that I'll kill all of your subordinates in one fell swoop." The Thunder Master God was enraged. "Ding Yundu, don't you get too cocky. If you can kill my subordinates, can't I head over to your base and kill them?" Ding Yundu replied coldly, "My base? My base has been taken over by the beast stampede. You want to go over? Let's see if you can find a single shadow, and I'll consider it your win." Upon hearing the news of the Thunder Master God's return, Napoleon's taut nerves finally relaxed. All of the powerful beings cheered out as they flew out of their castles one after another, welcoming the return of their savior. "Lord Thunder, celestial phenomenon is simply too much of a bully. Lord Thunder, quite a few of our brothers have been killed by him. There's even a batch of injured ones." The Thunder Master God's gaze was dark as he waved his hand. "You guys step back first. I'll speak." Ding Yundu crossed his arms in front of his chest, looking extremely pleased with himself. Clearly, he was not going to be courteous to this Thunder Master God either. Since this guy was clearly here to cause trouble, there was no need for fake formalities. "Ding Yundu, you're bent on falling out with us, aren't you?" the Thunder Master God asked in a deep voice. "Cut the crap. You guys were the ones who fell out with us first. Little Thunder, let me ask you. Was it your idea to incite the beast stampede to cause trouble?" Bullsh *T. "If I wanted to find trouble with you guys, why would I need to borrow the beast stampede?" Ding Yundu scoffed coldly. "I knew that you guys were cowards who didn't dare to admit to your actions. Little Thunder, if you don't give me an explanation today, I'll give you one." The Thunder Master God asked coldly, "What do you want?" Ding Yundu smiled leisurely. "When you weren't around, I didn't want to bully the weak and deal with these useless soldiers of yours. Now that you're here, I can strike then, right? How many of our celestial phenomenon continents people have died? You guys can just pay them back in full." "Lunatic!" the Thunder Master God berated. "Ding Yundu, the matter of the beast stampede has nothing to do with our Windcloud mainland. Don't tell me that you have no judgment at all? You have the cheek to say that? We didn't do anything to Lin Jingfeng, but aren't you blaming it on us? Now, you guys are the biggest suspects in this beast horde." Speaking of the matter with Lin Jingfeng, the Thunder Master God could not help but sweat a little. The celestial phenomenon continent had been wronged by Lin Jingfeng. Of course, he couldn't say that out loud right now. It would be strange if Ding Yundu didn't become even worse. Furthermore, the Thunder Master God did not wish for the matter of the great heaven-connecting canyon to be exposed. Just as their mouths were dry, Ding Yundu suddenly received a divine consciousness message. "Chief God, the beast tide has retreated." "The beast tide has retreated? Where did you retreat to?" "For the time being, we don't know where they retreated to. My lord, how should we deal with them?" "Wait and see." As the beast tide retreated, Ding Yundu's anger also subsided by quite a bit. Xiao Qin waved the saber in his hand and snorted coldly. "Brat Lei, this time, we took precautions against the beast tide in time and did not cause much damage. Next time, our celestial phenomenon continent will not be so easy to deal with." The reason why the Thunder Master God was so domineering to begin with was because of the matter with Lin Jingfeng. Now that Lin Jingfeng was not dead, the Thunder Master God was naturally not willing to fight to the death with Ding Yundu. Furthermore, his target right now was that great canyon. He had no interest in getting entangled with Ding Yundu. He took advantage of the situation and said, Ding Yundu, I'll remember what happened today. Go back and take care of your base. One of these days, I'll definitely go and collect this debt. Ding Yundu roared out in laughter. Then, you're welcome to come anytime. After he finished speaking, he disappeared without a trace like a graceful swan. Looking at Ding Yundu disappearing into the horizon, Naboxon gritted his teeth hatefully. Lord Lei, that B***starred is way too detestable. You're letting him go just like that? The Thunder Master God was expressionless as he waved his hand. Let's go in and talk inside. After entering the castle, the Thunder Master God said, Naboxon, I asked you to split up the colossal beast race. Did you put in any effort at all? Lord Lei, your subordinate has been trying to think of a way. That colossal beast race is really united. My strategy of splitting them up did not work at all. However, they did not blame the death of the Ferret King on us either, did they? The Thunder Master God's expression was grim. Why do I feel that there's something strange about this matter? What do you mean? Naboxon was a little perplexed. The deaths of the Ferret King and the Elephant King were clearly my handiwork. It's far from the base of the celestial phenomenon mainland. How could they blame it on the celestial phenomenon mainland? Perhaps the colossal beast race thinks that it was done by the celestial phenomenon mainland and wants to shift the blame onto the Windcloud mainland. Naboxon thought that he was smart. That's not right. I'm guessing that the colossal beast race has been bewitched by someone. Their goal is for us to go to war with the celestial phenomenon mainland. Naboxon was surprised. That doesn't seem too possible, right? There's a huge possibility. The Thunder Master God murmured, unable to figure out the mystery behind this. Right, Lord, how were your gains this time around? Naboxon asked. The Thunder Master God revealed a rare smile. This trip was a huge gain. Jingfeng is indeed not dead. He went to the Sky-Reaching Canyon. He then recounted the events at the Sky-Reaching Canyon. Naboxon was bewildered. This move of young Master Jingfeng is way too unexpected. From his tone, Naboxon could tell that he was somewhat displeased. Lin Jingfeng was the disciple of a Master God. Yet, he had to clean up his mess for others to do as he pleased. That wasn't right at all. The Thunder Master God chuckled. Naboxon, I'll make some preparations. All the true Supreme Tao Seventh Tribulation and above experts are to gather together and prepare a 10,000-strong excavation team. Lord, why is that? Don't ask. Just do as I say. You have to get it done within 3 days. Can you do it? Naboxon chuckled. A 10,000-strong excavation team will take some time. But 3 days is enough. Don't worry, Lord. Your subordinate will definitely get it done. All right, I'll wait for your news. In these 3 days, I'll be going into seclusion to comprehend some things and read some information. Yes. In the Sky-Reaching Canyon, Qin Wushuang and the others had already received the report of the colossal beast race's retreat. Time was tight and no one was left behind. Everyone, be careful. I have a feeling that there's something mysterious about this place. Qin Wushuang warned everyone. Everyone was very careful, keeping their eyes and ears on the surroundings. Leader, look. Up ahead, there was yet another illusory realm. This time around, the scale of the illusory realm was even grander. The surroundings were filled with all sorts of strange illusory realms. Space Gate. It was yet another space gate. Each space gate corresponded to a different type of illusory realm. The space gate this time around was clearly different from the previous one. Everyone, don't panic. Let me take a look. Qin Wushuang's consciousness churned as he began to check out these space gates. He knew that these space gates should be equivalent to the entrance of a passageway. Entering them correctly would mean entering a brand new opportunity. If they were to enter the wrong one, they might just enter an eternal hell. Follow me. Qin Wushuang roared out. He had already made his choice. Turning into a streak of light, he bolted toward a space gate in the north. Charge. sh, sh. Everyone passed through the space gate in a flash. By the time they opened their eyes once more, they were in a gigantic palace. It was exactly the same as the previous palace they saw. This time around, it did not seem like an illusion at all, because this palace was right in front of them. Qin Wushuang was taken aback. This space gate was so magical. Could it be that they had already been sent out of the original space in an instant? Leader, how could this be? Obviously, everyone felt this miraculous scene. This palace was almost right in front of them. Let's go and take a look. Qin Wushuang did not hesitate and called out. They walked toward the palace. Lion King, is this the Pantheon Temple? Wolf King could not help but ask. Standing at the entrance of the palace, everyone held their breath. The atmosphere of this palace was too strict and solemn. It gave people a feeling of looking up at a tall mountain. A powerful pressure seemed to be filled with endless magic, as if it had reached the core area of the universe. Leader, I'll take the lead. Lu Xiong shouted and was about to rush in. Don't be hasty. Qin Wushuang grabbed hold of Lu Xiong. Qin Wushuang only waved his hand after ascertaining that there were no restrictions on the entrance to the palace. Let's go. 3 days later, the Thunder Master God came out of his seclusion at a perfect cultivation state. By the time he walked out, Naboxen had been waiting for him for a long time. Lord Thunder, the things that you wanted me to prepare are all done. Good. Listen to my orders. Have them split into 50 small teams and sneak into the heaven-reaching Grand Canyon. Remember, keep it a secret and don't cause a huge commotion. Sneak into the heaven-reaching Grand Canyon. Naboxen was taken aback as he mumbled, Lord Thunder, I've just received news that the millions of beast stampedes seem to be heading in that direction as well. What? The beast stampedes are swarming into the heaven-reaching Grand Canyon? That's right. Less than 2 hours ago, the news that I received is absolutely true. The face of the Thunder Master God turned terrible as he cursed out, Damn it! I've been played for a fool yet again. Gather everyone and prepare to head for the heaven-reaching Grand Canyon. Lord, don't ask any more. Just do as I say. Right at this moment, the detestable laughter of Ding Yundu drifted in from outside the castle once more. Little brat Thunder, you've got a good plan, eh? Sneaking into the heaven-reaching Grand Canyon to dig for treasures and trying to hide it from me? Damn it, damn it. This time around, the face of the Thunder Master God changed entirely. How did even Ding Yundu know about it? Seemed like there was indeed someone pulling strings behind the scenes. Lord, what's going on? Naboxen was stunned. With a steely face, the Thunder Master God had already rushed out of the castle and yelled out, Ding Yundu, what the hell are you yelling about? If you've got what it takes, you can go and dig as well. I'm not stopping you. Ding Yundu chuckled out calmly, Little brat Thunder, I have no ill intentions for coming here this time around. I just want to ask you for a plan. Are the both of us going up personally? Or are we going to let our subordinates fight for it? The Thunder Master God pondered for a moment. Ding Yundu, what do you mean by that? If we're going up personally, we'll naturally fight it out at all costs. If we restrain ourselves and don't strike out, we'll just let them unleash their mystic skills. What do you think? To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 957. Finally, the two Master Gods calmed down and began to discuss a feasible plan. They knew that if the Master Gods were to strike out, the casualties on both sides would be huge. Eventually, they came to an agreement that the Master Gods would not strike out at their subordinate. This was a compromise that both of them could accept. After coming to an agreement, the Thunder Master God returned to his castle with a straight face and instructed, Nabo, you'll be in charge of dispatching the manpower. I'll head over to the canyon first. Remember, there are many crystal stone mines along the way. Our manpower is limited. We've got to snatch those with high yields and good quality. Got it? Yes. The heart of the Thunder Master God was actually shrouded in a dark cloud. Ever since he came to an agreement with Ding Yundu, he had always felt that there was something fishy about this matter. It was as though there was a dark hand manipulating everything behind the scenes. For a mighty Master God to feel as though he had been made a fool of. Naturally, this was a feeling that was absolutely terrible. Right now, the most important thing was not the feeling of unhappiness. Instead, he could vaguely feel that even though there were no major flaws in his first trip to the Great Sky-reaching canyon, there were still some suspicious points. Thinking about it carefully, these suspicious points were magnified endlessly. He had only sensed Lin Jingfeng's aura when he was close to that place. As for the others, he had more or less sensed them beforehand. That was the reason why he could track them all the way there. Why was it that he had only sensed Lin Jingfeng's aura at the very end? Logically speaking, since Lin Jingfeng was the one who was the most familiar with him, he should have sensed it first. Also, Lin Jingfeng had mentioned that the Snow Ferret King and the Elephant King were forced by him to not reveal their whereabouts. Now that he thought about it carefully, this matter did not seem to be able to stand up to scrutiny. At that time, the Thunder Master God did not suspect anything. But now that he thought about it, there were clearly some things that were worth scrutinizing. Therefore, he decided to check it out once more. No matter what, he had to get to the bottom of these suspicious points this time around. It was just that when he tried to contact Lin Jingfeng with his consciousness, he discovered to his shock that he could not sense Lin Jingfeng's consciousness at all. In other words, it was as though Lin Jingfeng had evaporated into thin air once more. Impossible! How could this be? The Thunder Master God was stumped by this strange thing as well. Even as a Master God, he had never come across something as such before. There must be a problem. There must be something wrong with those fellas. At this moment, the Thunder Master God's heart filled with an indescribable regret. Inside the palace, 8 thick chains extended out from all directions towards the center of the palace. The 8 chains were like 8 thick arms, grabbing a huge cauldron and hanging it in the middle of the hall. The walls of the cauldron were filled with all kinds of strange drawings. Qin Wushuang seemed to be familiar with those patterns. He had seen them in the hellish scene when the first space gate appeared. Ha ha ha, welcome to the Pantheon Mystic Palace. Suddenly, a hearty voice came from the main hall. It was filled with an ancient aura. Qin Wushuang and the others were stunned. Then, the voice continued, being able to pass through 2 spatial gates proves that you are all people with discerning eyes. Very good, this 10,000 Gods Mystic Palace will be your final battlefield. Remember, if you enter the Pantheon Mystic Palace, you will either get lost in the palace and enter the land of eternal death, or flee for your life and leave this plane. Leave this plane? The eyes of the 7 Beast Kings immediately surged with fanaticism. Do you see the 8 staircase entrances in front? This is a game. Of these 8 entrances, only 3 lead to the path of hope. The other 5 are the gates to disaster. Remember disaster. The Pantheon Mystic Palace is where the evil demons are imprisoned. And those 5 entrances lead to the evil demon prison. Each of these 8 entrances has a forceful seal. Once you enter, you will be able to activate the seal. This way, the seal will not be undone without 100 years of time. No one else will be able to enter from this entrance. So, if you can walk through the gates that symbolize hope, then congratulations. Those 3 places have the Endless Crystal Grotto, the Treasure Trove, and the Teleportation Grotto that leads to another plane. Haha, welcome to a new journey. At the same time, I would like to remind you that once you enter the entrance, you cannot regret it. So, before you make your choice, you must be careful, haha. I hope you will not enter the evil demon prison, otherwise. After a series of long laughs, there was no more sound. Captain, we have really arrived at the legendary place. Haha, treasures, crystals, and teleportation points. All of this seems to have been tailor-made for us. Captain, you have successfully led us through the previous 2 portals. This time, do you have any premonition? We will listen to you on how to go. Yes, Captain, we will listen to you. Qin Wushuang waved his hand, but did not say anything. After a moment of silence, he raised his head slightly and locked his gaze on the large cauldron that was hung by 8 large chains in the hall. With a flap of his wings, his body turned into a purple light and flew toward the large cauldron. He landed directly on top of the large cauldron and carefully observed it for a while. Qin Wushuang's furrowed brows slowly relaxed a little. However, the corners of his mouth revealed a trace of a happy smile. He muttered to himself, as expected of the Pantheon Mystic Palace, "Playing tricks as soon as we enter?" At this point, Qin Wushuang waved his hand and called out, "Come up, all of you." Before the others could understand what he meant, Qin Wushuang called out, "This Pantheon Mystic Palace is both real and illusory. I see that none of the 8 entrances symbolize hope. No matter which entrance you enter, it may be an eternal calamity. The real entrance is here." Everyone was dumbfounded. "Don't hesitate, quickly come up. There are secret talismans for teleportation on this cauldron. I recognize some of them. There is no mistake." It was indeed as Qin Wushuang said. Although they did not recognize all of the secret talismans on the large cauldron, the method used was clearly somewhat similar to the method used by their master, Li Xianfeng, to create the 7 deadly arrays formation. Of course, all of this had nothing to do with their master. However, there was no doubt that the ancient formations of the primordial era were more or less similar in terms of style. Hearing Qin Wushuang's words, the others were 100 times more confident and jumped onto the edge of the large cauldron. Down! Qin Wushuang took the lead and directly jumped down onto the large cauldron. Sure enough, with this jump, they seemed to have jumped into a bottomless pit. A golden light wrapped everyone's bodies in an instant. A teleportation array. It was indeed a teleportation array. And the teleportation point was actually on this large cauldron hanging high up. All of this was too unexpected. The golden light flew for an unknown period of time before finally stopping. The surroundings had changed once again. This was simply a paradise on Earth. As far as their eyes could see, the sky was so blue, and the grass all over the ground seemed to be exuding vitality, giving people a feeling of infinite hope. Rainbow Bridge. In their eyes, there was actually a rainbow bridge in the distance. And that rainbow bridge, when the first spatial door appeared, had clearly appeared in the illusion. It seemed that all illusory realms had a physical entity as a counterpart. Finally, Qin Wushuang had grasped something. "Captain, look, crystals." The surrounding mountain range was actually made of crystals. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded. These crystal mines were clearly several levels higher in quality than the ones in the periphery. Moreover, the production was definitely higher than the ones in the periphery. Gu Feng's eyes immediately lit up. "Captain, the spiritual power in this mine is too abundant. According to my intuition, there might be supreme-grade Great Luo crystals here." Supreme-grade Great Luo crystals? That's right. My uncle and nephew once had experience in the mines. We have some experience in crystal mining. Captain, give the order. We uncle and nephew will definitely dig out a large pile of crystals for you. Although they were seriously lacking in manpower. But if they could dig out some high-grade or even supreme-grade crystals, one was enough to compare to countless low-grade crystals. "Okay, you guys go and try, but you must be careful." After receiving the order, Lu Tong and his nephew were overjoyed and walked towards the continuous mountain. When they reached the foot of the mountain, Lu Tong held a mountain-splitting axe in his hand, while Lu Xiong held a golden melon giant hammer. At a glance, the uncle and nephew were obviously expert. They actually began to dig. "To mine these crystals, your strength is too strong, so it obviously won't work. But, if you don't have enough strength, it won't work. If you don't have enough strength, you won't even be able to open up the mine. If you can't destroy the spirit energy wall of the crystals, there's no way you can extract out a single crystal. These crystals were natural objects of the heavens and earth, and had the habit of gathering together. When all the crystals were gathered together, the spirit energy wall was extremely frightening. Just as the uncle and nephew were about to mine, Lu Xiong suddenly yelled out, "Captain, hurry and come! There's a gigantic mirror here. Hurry and take a look." Indeed, there was an octagonal mirror that was grinded out of crystals, with 8 flat surfaces. To think that every single flat surface would have content, as though it was a movie screen. The content within was actually an important region of the entire heaven-connecting Grand Canyon. Not good. Isn't that the Thunder Master God? He's already here? Lu Xiong was the first to discover the Thunder Master God, as he could not help but yell out. To think that this Thunder Master God would have already arrived near their second space gate. The moment he broke through the second space gate, he would head straight in and find this place. As for the Thunder Master God, it was clear that he had already entered a berserk state of rage. Jingfeng, hurry and answer me. Wu Xinghe, you lad. Get the hell out here. And all of you Beast Kings, get the hell out here. Tai Hong scolded out, this Thunder Master God is really like a lingering spirit that just won't go away. However, Qin Wushuang instructed, don't bother about him first. He won't be able to find his way here in a short period of time. We'll leave after he finds his way here. Let's play hide and seek with him. Lu Tong, Lu Xiong, you guys hurry up. If you can, do it. If you can't, don't be greedy. Suddenly, Blackwing smirked out sinisterly. Captain, I suddenly have an idea. What is it? Isn't that Lin Jingfeng being controlled by you? You can send him to receive the Thunder Master God and lure him into any one of those 8 entrances. This suggestion was indeed vicious enough. If you want to know what happens next, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 958. This was a vicious idea. Furthermore, given the strangeness of this myriad god disorienting palace, even master gods might get lost within if they were to enter that death entrance. This was a plan that could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. However, Qin Wushuang shook his head. I still have some use for Lin Jingfeng. Don't be hasty. It won't be that easy for that Thunder Master God to find this place. He then turned around and instructed, everyone, go and help Lu Tong and his nephew out. I'll check out the surroundings. I'm guessing that there must be some sort of movement within this myriad god disorienting palace. Right now, we're definitely still roaming around the outskirts. Everyone replied in unison and went about their own business. Blackwing, don't go. Come with me. The Black Wing Bat was just fretting over the fact that he had to go mine. Upon hearing Qin Wushuang's instructions, he replied gleefully, all right. Qin Wushuang brought the Black Wing and flew toward the Rainbow Bridge. At this moment, the Rainbow Bridge could no longer be an illusion. Walking on the Rainbow Bridge, Qin Wushuang felt a strange feeling in his heart. This myriad god disorienting palace was indeed a mixture of illusion and reality. Seemed like everything that he saw in this plane did not pose much of a threat. Walking past the end of the Rainbow Bridge, he caught sight of 3 long heavenly ladders that extended all the way into the unknown horizon. The heavenly ladders that hung in the air gave off an extremely strong visual impact. Even though the heavenly ladders were extremely wide, there were no handrails on either side as they hung there out of thin air. Looking up from below, even if they were on a slope, they still towered into the clouds. If one were to walk to the highest point and look down, even if one were a divine state cultivator, they would probably feel their hearts skip a beat. These 3 heavenly ladders were exactly the same, without any differences at all. The only difference was in their orientation. Looking at the 3 heavenly ladders, Qin Wushuang had a strange feeling in his heart. Right at this moment, that voice boomed out, "What you guys are looking at right now are the heavenly ladders. These 3 heavenly ladders lead to 3 different places. One of them leads to the demon-suppressing prison where countless demons are locked up. One of them leads to the ultimate treasure trove of the myriad god disorienting palace. The last one, haha. I have no idea where it leads to at all. It's a teleportation tunnel that leads to an unknown direction. I hope that your luck won't be so bad as to walk into that passageway. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee where you'll be teleported to. It's very likely that he'll get lost in the spatial turbulence." Qin Wushuang sat on the rainbow bridge and remained silent for a long time. This time, he discovered that no matter how strong his intuition was, he was still unable to see through the 3 stairways in front of the rainbow bridge. In the end, which one was safe? "Captain, how is it?" Black Wing seemed to be worried as well. Qin Wushuang sighed softly, "I can't tell." Without a doubt, the master of the Pantheon Bewildering Palace was from an unknown era. However, there was no doubt that his strength was at the level of his master, Li Xianfeng, who was at the level of the Holy Emperor. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the stairway to heaven to be so flawless without any flaws. Qin Wushuang had inherited Li Xuanfeng's bloodline. His intuition was so strong that it was almost as strong as a sovereign's. However, he could not see the difference between the 3 stairways to heaven. "Then how should we choose?" Qin Wushuang smiled and said, "I have an idea." As he spoke, he made a hand seal and summoned 2 puppets. When Qin Wushuang first created the great golem puppets, he only made 9 at first to cultivate the 9 palaces returned to one sword formation. Later, he felt that it was not enough, so he made a few more, using up all the materials. Now, these extra puppets had come in handy. Although Qin Wushuang did not fuse the souls of other cultivators into them, his soul was entrusted inside to control these great golem puppets. Now that he sent these great golem puppets to scout the way, he knew the reason. The 3 great golem puppets each led to the 3 stairways to heaven. They flew up quickly and disappeared into the clouds in the blink of an eye. Black Wingbat looked at this scene in a daze. "Captain, you really have great abilities. These methods are endless. I'm really impressed." "Black Wing, don't flatter me. I didn't make many of these great golem puppets. Now that I've used 3, at least one of them is definitely dead." Black Wing said sincerely, "That's still better than a real cultivator scouting the way, right? Great golem puppets aren't made of flesh and blood, right?" "Haha, Black Wing, are you afraid that I'll order you to do these things?" Black Wing blushed and smiled embarrassedly. "Captain, you definitely won't." "Yes, I didn't use the divine venomous puppet technique on you to take your life, nor to order you around like a slave. What I want is an obedient envoy. What I need is a capable assistant, and what I need is that you won't dare to disobey me. Before you completely submit, this divine venomous puppet technique is a restriction. One day, I'll get rid of it for you." Black Wing believed it. After such a long time, although he had become a puppet, the captain clearly did not treat him as a slave, but as an ordinary member of the team, with the same status. Even the captain had never mentioned that he, Black Wing, was a puppet in front of the public. Qin Wushuang focused his mind, paying attention to the whereabouts of the 3 puppets. At this moment, a cry of surprise came from behind. "Captain, there are so many crystals, we're rich, we're rich." Lu Xiong's laughter came. Black Wing was startled, then said, "Captain, I'll go take a look. Let's go together." There were indeed a lot of crystals here. Moreover, what they didn't expect was that the crystal stones here were all naturally formed. They were very large. Although they were also granular, the size of a crystal stone was 10 times larger than an ordinary crystal stone. This kind of large crystal stone had a completely different spiritual power and aptitude compared to ordinary crystal stones. We're rich, we're rich. Captain, look, even the worst crystals here are of the 5th rank. 6th and 7th rank are ordinary, and there are many of the 8th and 9th rank. Captain, we found a supreme grade crystal. Captain, ha ha! Little Jiang also shouted. Seeing the mountains of Daluo crystals, these wandering cultivators went completely crazy. This kind of situation usually only appeared in dreams. Their dream of getting rich had come so quickly? They had only seen this kind of situation in their dreams, and even in their dreams it was not so dazzling and realistic. A huge supreme-grade Daluo crystal. According to everyone's collective guess, this should be a 10th-rank Daluo crystal. Go get it down, Qin Wushuang ordered. Qin Wushuang did not hold back at this time. He summoned all the puppets, including the Sky God puppet. Master Li Xianfeng had prepared a total of 12 Sky God puppets for him. Among them, there were 2 Second Tribulation Sky God puppets and 2 Third Tribulation Sky God puppet. There were 3 Fourth and 5th Tribulations and 6 Sixth Tribulations. Now that Qin Wushuang was at the first tribulation of the Sky God Dao stage, he summoned 4 Sky God puppets at once according to the principle of summoning across 2 levels. When they saw Qin Wushuang conjuring out heavenly god elite warriors like magic, everyone was dumbstruck. They were already numb from the shock. This Lord Xinghe was truly shocking. After a moment of astonishment, it was replaced by an indescribable ecstasy. They felt that it was an exciting thing to rely on such a captain. This captain was ambitious. If they followed him, they might really be able to start a big career in the future. With this new batch of manpower, the speed of mining the crystal immediately sped up. After all, the strength of a Third Tribulation Sky God Dao expert was not just a boast. Generally, Third Tribulation Sky God Dao experts were super experts. Even if they wanted to participate in mining, they would mostly be supervisors. Due to their status, they would not personally participate in mining. Mining was a rough job. However, with Qin Wushuang, Third Tribulation Sky God Dao experts were only Sky God puppet. They had to listen to Qin Wushuang's orders. Once all the Third Tribulation Sky God Dao experts participated, naturally one of them was worth 100 of them. With all of them mobilized, the combined efforts of 20 to 30 experts was equivalent to thousands of miners working hard. 3 days passed. There was a happy smile on everyone's face. There was only one reason. They had made a fortune. Millions of crystal stones were constantly being mined. Although there were no more top-grade crystal stones after that, many 8th-grade and 9th-grade upper-grade Daluo crystal stones were dug out. Captain, we'll need at most 2 days. In 2 days we'll be able to dig through all the areas. The northwest area is the most difficult. According to our speculation, there may be top-grade crystal stones there. Haha, I hope there will be more excitement. Lu Xiong reported to Qin Wushuang with joy. Qin Wushuang said, "There's no time to lose. Let's hurry up." Lu Xiong was about to reply when Lu Tong in the distance shouted, "Captain, please come over. There's a new situation." Qin Wushuang flew over there at a rapid speed. The situation was like this. The northwest area was very difficult to excavate. Their excavation was met with great resistance. Now, even a Third Tribulation Sky God Dao expert could not break that area. There seemed to be some kind of seal in that place. Captain, now that we have used all our tools, we can't open it. If these Sky God Dao experts use all their strength, they can definitely break it open. However, although the spiritual power of the crystal stones is high, they are very fragile. Once the structure of the crystal stones is destroyed, they are worthless. We are worried that there are top-grade crystals here, so we don't dare to act rashly. Captain, please do your best. Lu Tong explained the situation in detail. What tools are you using? Chisel, hammer, drill, all kinds of tools. When it's time to use a sharp weapon, use a sharp weapon, and when it's time to use a blunt weapon, use a blunt weapon. Now we must use sharp weapons here, and we must control the strength well. It's not brute force but skill. Lu Tong gestured and explained to Qin Wushuang. Now, they could only see what the captain could do. They had already thought of all the methods. Qin Wushuang nodded. Have you mined almost all the crystal stones in the surrounding area? Almost all. We got a total of more than 3 million crystals, half of which are middle-grade Daluo crystals and the other half are high-grade. There is not a single low-grade Daluo crystal. Captain, this is a miracle. I don't believe that there are no top-grade crystals in such a crystal mine. Lu Tong emphasized again and again. Millions of middle-grade and low-grade crystals, if converted to first-grade crystals, was simply an astronomical figure. It was not an exaggeration to say that they were as rich as a country. There will be 6 chapters updated today, to make up for yesterday's 4 chapters. Aside from the topic, Old Nyo had been sleeping for the entire day. It was also the most comfortable day Old Nyo had slept in the past few months. He slept until 9 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. I'm in high spirits right now. There are still 5 chapters left. I can finish them all if I keep writing them until late at night. I definitely won't be late today, so please don't worry, everyone. Chapter 959. Qin Wushuang looked around. According to his estimations, this northwest region was a mining area with a considerable amount of production. From all aspects, there should be a large amount of crystal stones. After mining for 3 days, Qin Wushuang finally gained a lot of knowledge about crystal stones. He had a good understanding of the mining and distribution of Daluo crystal stones, as well as the situation of their nurturing. Captain, we have to think of a way, Lu Tong said. Such a good group of crystal stones proves that the terrain here is very good. It will definitely nurture a top-quality crystal stone king. We have already dug out top-quality crystal stones 2 days ago, but the quality is still not the best. I believe that if we open this place, there will definitely be more top-quality crystal stones. Lu Tong had participated in many crystal stone mining experiences. Thus, these words were all based on his experience. He had a calm personality. If he dared to say these words, then he basically had a great deal of confidence. Captain, why don't we give it a try? Doesn't Lin Jingfeng have a Master God weapon? Let him try using the Master God weapon. Use the fastest speed to open a crack. We don't need to go too deep. As long as we can open a crack, we can start. Lin Jingfeng laughed awkwardly. My Master God weapon is not a sharp weapon. I can't do this kind of technical work. This was not unduly belittling himself, nor was it excessive modesty. The meteor hammer was indeed not a sharp weapon. If one were to talk about large-scale attacks or scattered defense, then the meteor hammer was indeed a good weapon. However, to use the meteor hammer to do technical work that could only be done by a sharp weapon, it was really unbearable. Qin Wushuang saw that everyone was looking at Lin Jingfeng with some confusion. He waved his hand. Everyone, don't misunderstand. His Master God weapon is the meteor hammer. With one strike, the entire mine will be destroyed by him. Hearing this, Lu Tong felt that it was a pity. Regret was clearly written on his face. Let me try. Qin Wushuang laughed. All of you, step back. Everyone was shocked. They had seen Qin Wushuang's weapons. The yin-yang nature blade, a whip, and a pair of twin swords. Could it be that they were Master God weapons? These people had never seen Master God weapons. Naturally, they did not know the power of Master God weapons. He also lacked a necessary understanding of sovereign artifact. However, Lin Jingfeng had seen the prowess of Qin Wushuang's Sky Branch Kuei Wolf twin swords. He smiled and said, even my meteor hammer couldn't block Master's attack. He will definitely succeed. When everyone heard this, they consciously scattered in all directions. Qin Wushuang raised his arms, and the celestial branch Kuei Wolf flew out. Two rays of light circled above his head. Qin Wushuang grasped the two swords with both hands. He laughed heartily. He made a sword seal and disappeared into the void. With a flash of purple light, he suddenly appeared on the wall of the mine. Chi. The two sword lights landed on the same area almost at the same time and combined into a single sword light. It was as thin as a blade. Crack, crack. A cracking sound could be heard. Obvious staggered layers appeared on the mountain wall. A hair-thin crack appeared in front of everyone's eyes. This sword strike was even more straightforward than a knife cutting through tofu. It directly split open two thin cracks. Technical work, this was definitely technical work. He did not rely on brute force, but on extremely brilliant sword skills. The skill of this sword skill had already reached a rather subtle level. Good, Captain, there is really nothing a capable person can't do. Too strong. Lu Tong was also overjoyed. That's great, Captain, leave the rest to me. With these two open cracks, it would be easy for him to start with his tools. As he continued to mine, an accident happened. After mining a few 100 feet deep, there was actually not a single crystal. How is this possible? Lu Xiong shouted. Could it be that there was a mistake in the detection? This area is clearly filled with spiritual power. Why are the crystals so sparsely distributed? After digging for so long, we still haven't reached the core layer? Little Lu, don't be impatient. The nine-tailed fox king at the side comforted him. Little Lu muttered, it's too strange. Lu Tong scolded, don't say so much, Captain. Look, along the way, the soil is obviously different from ordinary soil. Is there something here? After all, Qin Wushuang was not as proficient as Lu Tong. There is. This soil is the outer layer of the crystals. It fell off and became this form of stone soil. What do you mean? The outer layer of the crystals? Could it be that the crystals in this area have already been mined? Qin Wushuang frowned and asked. Lu Tong pondered for a moment and said, I have never encountered such a situation before. However, according to my speculation, what Captain said should be the norm. But here there is no trace of exploitation, and before Captain broke the crystal wall just now, this place was obviously not damaged. I'm guessing that the crystals here have never been mined before. Then why is there only a layer of the outer layer left? Could it be that the crystals flew away by themselves? Before Qin Wushuang could ask, Tai Hong couldn't hold back his anger. Haha, Vice Captain, the crystals themselves can't fly. Look at these soils, do you have any associations? What do they look like? Qin Wushuang smiled and said, I think they look like a layer of skin shed by a snake. Yes, Captain, you are absolutely right. The crystals have an outer layer of crystals, which is the same as shedding skin. Captain, let me guess. If I guess wrong, don't laugh at me. Lu Tong, just say it. Qin Wushuang smiled and said, We are all on the same side, there is no laughing matter. Yes, old Lu, just say what you want to say. Why are you like this? Lu Tong smiled and nodded. I'm guessing that this crystal is definitely still there. It's just that it's in another form. I've heard that crystal stones are also spiritual objects. In general, crystal stones are densely packed together, but there is also a special kind of mineral deposit, which is called the Crystal Stone King. If there was a Crystal Stone King in this area, it would produce a summoning force and a suction force that would draw the surrounding crystal stones to it. The crystal stones would grow as they got closer to it. They would provide the Crystal Stone King with spiritual power while absorbing the Crystal Stone King's spiritual power. This cycle complements each other and improves each other's aptitude. According to what you said, isn't it? Yes, if there is such a possibility, then the crystals produced in this place may surpass all our previous gains, or even multiply by several times. Once there is a Supreme Crystal King, we will really be rich. Maybe we will be richer than the main temple. Richer than the main temple? They were completely dumbfounded. Even Gu Feng, who was always obsessed with crystals, was completely dumbfounded. Was this a dream? Richer than the main temple? Everyone, I am not joking. If anyone has a supreme crystal king, he will be qualified to become the master of a stellar zone. Even a lord will have to look up to him. Of course, the prerequisite is that he must be able to protect the supreme crystal king. An ordinary crystal king was enough to make 3 sovereigns. If he is a little careless, he can even make more than 10 lords. Qin Wushuang was also tempted by Lu Tong's words. He chuckled and said, Lu Tong, if it is really so valuable, then our risk this time is worth it. Lu Tong said seriously, Captain, even without this mining area, our gains are worth it. Do you want to go deeper? Isn't that nonsense? Why don't we go deeper? Gu Feng's eyes were red as he shouted. It is easy to go deeper, but if it is a supreme crystal king, there must be some divine beasts guarding it. Their strength is unfathomable. The danger is… Qin Wushuang nodded. Everyone, I will go in. At this time, as the captain, it would be unreasonable if he did not take the lead. Captain, I will go, Tai Hong said. The others were also eager to give it a try. Qin Wushuang said with a smile, Everyone, it is better for you to go than for me. I am the captain. How can I be worthy of being your captain if I let you take the risk at this critical moment? Don't worry, if we get a supreme crystal king, we will all have a share. Captain, look at what you are saying. If there is only one share, it will naturally be yours. We are just followers, we don't have much contribution. That's right, Captain. The fact that we're able to get here is all thanks to you. Captain, you are a man of great achievements, we can all see that. If there is only one supreme crystal king, then it will be yours. If there are 2, we will share it with the others. Yes, who is not convinced, come and reason with me, Hei said tirelessly. Tai Hong also smiled and said, Captain, it's the people's will fist. Don't reject it. Besides, you are going to take the risk, we are just here to watch. We can't take advantage of you. Qin Wushuang waved his hand. Then wait for me to come out. Lu Tong gave the digging tools to Qin Wushuang and reminded him of some things. Qin Wushuang's comprehension was very high, and he quickly grasped it. A narrow tunnel was constantly being dug. Qin Wushuang went deeper, and increasingly felt a strong spiritual power beckoning from afar. Suddenly, Qin Wushuang felt a majestic high temperature, surging from the front like a tide. The 2 swords in front of him, his body turned into a rainbow, flying forward. He did not retreat, but advanced. Whoosh, a sparkling light formed a strong attack wave, rumbling over. Qin Wushuang pointed with his 2 swords and shouted, Break! The 2 swords moved together, thrusting toward the dazzling light wave. Boom! The 2 forces collided. A scream sounded, and a ball of silver light rolled in the tunnel, its speed constantly decreasing. It was a spirit beast that looked exactly like the earth spirit, Golden Light Mouse. It stared at Qin Wushuang warily, letting out a sharp cry. This evil creature, could it be an earth spirit, Golden Light Mouse? Qin Wushuang felt it was inconceivable. The earth spirit, Golden Light Mouse, was a golden creature. And although this one had the same appearance, its whole body was silver, the same color as the sparkling crystal. There was no trace of golden light at all. To be precise, this was more like an earth spirit, Silverlight Mouse. That spirit beast was obviously very strong. Its hind legs bounced off the ground, and its body shot toward Qin Wushuang like a cannonball. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 960. Clang, 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 clang. The spirit beast's speed was comparable to lightning. Every impact was very strong, and the most terrifying thing was its speed. It was like a shadow shuttling in the cave. The whole cave was full of rat shadows. Unfortunately, although it was fast, Qin Wushuang was not slow either. The Heaven Branch Kuei Wolf double swords were full of spirituality. They were controlled by Qin Wushuang with his mind, and were used as shields in front of him. No matter how the spirit beast attacked, Qin Wushuang was always faster. The two swords blocked the spirit beast's attack again and again, but it did not succeed. That spiritual beast flew into a rage out of humiliation. Suddenly, it shook its body and transformed into countless clones that shot towards Qin Wushuang like raindrops. The Heavenly Branch Kuei Wolf swords followed the same pattern, emitting thousands of sword glows that formed a giant net in the air, blocking the attacks of the phantoms without leaving a single one unharmed. That spiritual beast was completely dumbstruck as it crouched on the ground and breathed deeply. Its pair of eyes stared at Qin Wushuang with curiosity. On the other hand, Qin Wushuang's pair of swords had worn away much of that surge of soaring battle intent. "Hey, little rat, do you still want to fight?" Qin Wushuang said with a smile. According to Qin Wushuang's estimation, the spirit beast was at least at the second tribulation of the Heavenly Supreme Tao stage. However, the cave was narrow, and the spirit beast could not fully use its divine sense. Qin Wushuang was in the cave, and the defense area was very small. As long as he guarded the door, the spirit beast would not be able to gain anything even if it attacked for 10 years. Of course, Qin Wushuang also restrained himself. The power of the Sky Branch Kuei Wolf, he almost only used the defensive side, using the pair of swords as a shield. In terms of attacking power, there was no attack at all. The spirit beast obviously realized this, and muttered in beast language, "Strange human, why don't you attack?" "If I attack, you'll be in big trouble," Qin Wushuang said with a smile. "Although this terrain is your territory, it's not good for you to play. If I break this whole cavern and my companions come in, you'll be in even more trouble. Little mouse, it seems like you know how many of us are here." The spirit beast snorted coldly. "You humans like to bully others with numbers." "Haha, I don't intend to bully you with numbers. Little mouse, I'm here for the crystal stones. As long as you let me pass, I won't hit you." The spirit beast shouted, "I am the guardian of the Jingshi. If you want to take the Jingshi, you have to go through me." "Are you really going to do it? I won't show any mercy." The spirit beast saw that Qin Wushuang was mischievous, but it also knew that Qin Wushuang's pair of swords were powerful. It angrily said, "You are relying on your powerful weapons. Without these two swords, I am not afraid of you." Qin Wushuang sighed helplessly. "I don't want to be called a bully. There's no other way. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave wins. I can only use the strongest equipment." "Then let's fight again. If you beat me, all the Jingshi here will be yours." The spirit beast was clearly in a frenzy. It let out a loud roar and charged over again. Qin Wushuang shouted, "Then I'll use my real skills." He swung his two swords, and the two swords suddenly seemed to encircle one. They formed a semicircle in front of each other, forming the shape of a yin-yang taiji fish. "Little mouse, have a taste of my yin-yang aurora." The yin-yang aurora displayed by the yin-yang creation saber was already very terrifying. And this Heavenly Branch Kuei Wolf sword was a heavenly venerable level divine weapon. Its power could be imagined. The yin-yang aurora was pushed out. The entire cavern was like a balloon that had been blown to the limit, as if it was about to explode. The spirit beast was also impressive. It turned into thousands of afterimages and avoided the core of the yin-yang aurora. It was just that once the yin-yang aurora was formed, it appeared continuously. Qin Wushuang moved his two swords in succession, and circle after circle kept surging out. In a moment, the entire tunnel was completely blocked by the circle of the yin-yang aurora. Then, the yin-yang aurora was like a fishing net that was being closed, constantly closing in. The little mouse was like a fish caught in a net. It cried out loudly in the huge net of the yin-yang aurora. "Haha, are you convinced? Qin Wushuang stopped activating the yin-yang aurora. The little mouse begged for mercy. I'm convinced, you despicable guy. I'm convinced, okay? Am I despicable? It seems that you're not convinced. Qin Wushuang smiled. I'm convinced, I'm really convinced. Ouch. Qin Wushuang smiled and said, if you're convinced, then lead the way. In front of the powerful Qin Wushuang, the little mouse had no choice but to submit and lead Qin Wushuang forward. The dazzling light kept shooting over, so dazzling that Qin Wushuang almost couldn't open his eyes. The King of Crystals? In a cave, piles of crystals were piled up. There were at least a few million of them. And these crystals were like the stars in the sky surrounding the moon, forming a posture of stars surrounding the moon. In the middle, a crystal the size of a head was emitting an inexplicably powerful spiritual power, which made people's breathing quicken at a glance. This crystal was sparkling and translucent, like a miniature of the creation of heaven and earth. It was like a condensation of the universe, deep and unfathomable. Next to this crystal, there were 7 other fist-sized crystals. They looked like the King of Crystals. These 7 crystals belonged to the core layer of the second ring. There were 21 crystals in the third ring. Their quality was just like the top-grade crystal that he had discovered earlier. They were shining brightly, although they could not be compared to the core layer. Although they couldn't compare to the core layer, compared to the millions of crystals around them, they were extremely dazzling. King of Crystals? Qin Wushuang murmured. The little mouse snorted. Human, you're lucky. Even a lord can't take out so many crystals. Maybe even a heavenly venerable can't take out so many. Qin Wushuang smiled faintly. The biggest one in the middle is a top-grade 12 Daluo Supreme crystal. It's the essence of the creation of heaven and earth. Even a heavenly venerable would drool over it. The 7 crystals in the second ring are grade 11 King of Crystals. Even a lord may not have them. As for the 21 crystals in the third ring, they're grade 10 King of Crystals. This thing can only be found by chance. Although it can't become a lord early, if a 6th tribulation heavenly god has a 20% chance of becoming a lord, then these King of Crystals can increase his chances by 20%. As for the other top-grade crystals, the little mouse didn't even bother to introduce them. Obviously, in its eyes, other than the King of Crystals, the so-called top-grade crystals weren't worth mentioning at all. Did you move all these crystals here? Or were they attracted here by the King of Crystals? Of course it was the King of Crystals. The little mouse said in a tone that said he was ignorant. I've been cultivating here for tens of thousands of years. If it weren't for you, despicable human, disturbing me, I would have become a lord of gods sooner or later. Humph, our Earth Spirit Golden Light Mouse Clan has never broken through to Lord of Gods. If I can, I'll definitely become a miracle. This little mouse's ambition was not small. Qin Wushuang laughed. This way you hate me to death, right? Humph, it's good that you know. Qin Wushuang laughed. How about this? I'll take these crystals away. You can also come with me. You usually rely on absorbing the power of the crystals to cultivate, and I can also provide it for you. This way, is it okay? Really? Yes, as long as you don't touch the King of Crystals, it's fine. If you really want to touch the King of Crystals, you need to apply with me first. Don't worry, I can't eat the King of Crystals at all now. I only need top-grade crystals, a large number of them will be enough, haha. The mouse was obviously very excited. Human, you don't seem to be bad. Who told you that humans must be bad? Humans aren't bad. You enslaved our Earth Spirit Golden Light Mouse Clan to serve you. You explored the crystals and killed them as you wanted. If you're not bad, who else is? The little mouse seemed to feel that it had said too much and smiled apologetically. Of course, you seem to be an exception. Haha, you've already said it. There's no need to smooth things over. You're right. There are bad people among humans, but there are also good people. They can't be generalized. I'll take all these crystals. Fortunately, the main temple had prepared a space ring for them to store the crystals, which was very large. Otherwise, it really wouldn't be able to hold so many crystals. After putting all the crystals into the space ring, Qin Wushuang said with a smile, "Go on in. This is the main god's space ring. There's enough space and spirit qi. You can cultivate to your heart's content. It's better than you hiding in here. You can cultivate in my space ring and come out whenever you want to." Haha, that's true. The mouse scratched its head and was also very happy. Right, little mouse, the fur of a golden light mouse is shining with golden light. How did you become a silver light mouse? These words brought up a sad memory. Who knows? I was originally golden, but after coming here and absorbing the energy of the crystals for a long time, I don't know when it became silver. Sigh, how embarrassing. The symbol of us golden light mice is our shining golden fur. Haha, I didn't expect you to be so nostalgic. Qin Wushuang laughed and swept around the cave again to see if he had missed anything else. Don't worry, there's no need to look. I'm extremely familiar with every single corner of this place. If you can find even half a piece of extra crystal, I'll admit that you're strong. Hee, let's go. Qin Wushuang brought the earth spirit, the silverlight mouse, and headed out. With a loud boom, a purple light burst out of the tunnel and landed on the ground outside. The moment he landed, Qin Wushuang's face changed. Everyone was present. However, there was an additional person beside them. That's right, the Thunder Master God. The Thunder Master God stood there impressively and looked at Qin Wushuang with a smile that did not seem to be a smile. The corners of his eyes twitched as a series of killing intent flashed out. Wu Xinghe, you've really done a good job of deceiving me. The Thunder Master God scoffed out coldly. Sorry, I forgot to post the second update just now, but I'm posting it together now. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 961. Thankfully, the Thunder Master God was extremely arrogant. To think that he would be able to remain calm and composed at this moment, and did not launch a sneak attack on Qin Wushuang. Otherwise, it would truly be hard to tell what the outcome would be. Looking at the others, they all had bitter expressions on their faces and were dumbstruck. None of them dared to move at all. It was as though he had been cursed by the Thunder Master God. When the Earth Spirit Goldenlit Rat caught sight of the Thunder Master God, it was startled as well. A Master God powerful being? Qin Wushuang glared at the Thunder Master God coldly. You're not that slow, eh? The Thunder Master God scoffed out coldly. Lad, I couldn't tell that you've got some tricks up your sleeves, eh? You actually managed to scare this sovereign god into running in circles. Right now, the entire Grand Sky-reaching canyon is in chaos. I'm afraid it's all because of you, kid. Qin Wushuang sneered. You really think highly of me? Cut the crap and hand over the crystals. I'll let you live. Otherwise, apart from Jingfeng, none of you will survive. Qin Wushuang laughed loudly. None of them will die. The brows of the Thunder Master God furrowed. Are you trying to challenge my temper? Or do you think I don't dare to kill them? If you dare to kill them, you can also kill them. But you killed them. Whether it's the crystal or Lin Jingfeng, you won't be able to get them. Also, look at the Rainbow Bridge. The 3 ladders lead to the same area. Do you know where the passage to the treasure vault is? You know? Of course I know. Qin Wushuang smiled proudly. Haha, kid, you really know how to boast. It's no wonder that bunch of idiots from the Giant Beast clan were so fooled by you that they didn't hesitate to betray our Wind Cloud continent. Your Excellency Thunder Master God, it's not up to you to decide whether or not I'm bragging. Listen, you can attack, but I can kill Lin Jingfeng with just a thought. Whether you believe it or not, you can give it a try. He's already been controlled by my puppet technique. With just a thought, I can make his soul explode and he dies. What? The gaze of the Thunder Master God froze up as two sharp beams of light shot out from his eyes silently. Clang! Tianzi Kuei Lang stood in front and blocked the two invisible spiritual attacks. Although the sword was buzzing from the impact, it still managed to block them. But the pair of Empyrean divine swords were not damaged at all. They just emitted sharp sword hums continuously. The eyes of the Thunder Master God narrowed into slits instantly. How could this be? A lord's divine telekinesis was more powerful than any arrow. It could kill without leaving a trace. This young man's pair of swords was actually able to block a lord's divine telekinesis attack? Master God weapon? A strange thought crossed the mind of the Thunder Master God. No, he's just a young man. His cultivation is only at the first or second tribulation of the heavenly supreme Tao stage. Even if he has a Master God weapon, he can't block my divine will. Could it be an Empyrean divine artifact? The moment he thought of that, a greedy desire surged into the heart of the Thunder Master God. Empyrean divine artifact. This was something even rarer than crystals. Unless there was a 12th grade top grade crystal, only then could it be mentioned in the same breath as an Empyrean artifact. An Empyrean divine artifact was different from a Master divine artifact. It was a divine Tao weapon that only Empyreans could possess. The difficulty of crafting it, and the fact that one had to make use of the power of the stars to refine it, was something that was hard to come by. Furthermore, the most important thing was that the materials required to craft an Empyrean divine artifact were something that could only be chanced upon by luck. In order to craft an Empyrean divine artifact, one would need at least a 11th grade crystal as a consumable for the cauldron in order to succeed. Otherwise, the final step of the crafting process would not be completed at all. Empyrean divine artifact. Even some of the true Empyreans might not necessarily possess something like that. Let alone a Master God like him, who could not even be considered as the master of a dimension. To put it bluntly, if he could get his hands on this pair of Empyrean divine swords, he would even have the rights to have the Wind Master God give up his position and hand over the position of the Master of the Dimension of the Wind Cloud mainland to him. Furthermore, he would not have to worry about the Wind Master God rejecting him. Whoever possessed the stronger means and equipment would be the boss. That was the law. Even without the Wind Master God giving up his position, he could still go and open up a brand new world and possess a brand new dimension. As long as he liked it, he would definitely be able to do it. A Empyrean divine artifact was a symbol of status and identity. Just think about it. Even Empyreans might not necessarily possess a Empyrean divine artifact. If a Master God like him were to be equipped with it, what sort of glory and prestige would that be? Instantly, the Thunder Master God thought of many things. Greed caused his eyes to flicker endlessly. However, Qin Wushuang instinctively raised his guard to the highest level. How could he not tell that this pair of Empyrean divine artifacts of his had attracted the covetous eyes of the Thunder Master God? His lips curled into a mocking smile. However, that look of his had the Thunder Master God on his guard. For this lad to be so arrogant, could he have some sort of background? The moment he thought of that, his mind calmed down considerably. Greed was greed. He had to get a clear picture of the situation first. If he were to offend an existence that he could not afford to offend at all, he would be in big trouble. This lad was only at the first or second tribulation of the heavenly supreme Tao realm. To think that he would be able to use a Empyrean divine artifact. How was that different from a kid walking around the streets with gold in his arms? Usually, in a situation as such, there would either be a deep reason behind it or the kid was just a retard. Clearly, this young man before him was full of schemes and was definitely not one of those retards. If that were the case, just what sort of a background did this lad have? Thunder Master God, Are you interested in the two swords in my hands? Qin Wushuang asked with a smile that did not look like a smile. After that brief moment of nervousness at the start, Qin Wushuang's mind regained its composure once more. He began to think of a countermeasure. This time around, he had truly been too careless. To think that the Thunder Master God would have arrived this quickly. However, since he was already here, he had to think of a way to deal with him. He could not just sit there and wait for death to come. Humph. Empyrean divine artifacts? Lad, you're pretty rich, aren't you? Where did your master come from? What's your background? Why do you have to pretend to be an itinerant cultivator to scare others? Under such circumstances, the Thunder Master God did not dare to let his guard down. Why do you care where I come from? My Empyrean divine artifacts were personally crafted by my master and fused with his soul. Even if I were to give them to you, you might not even dare to use them. So, I'd advise you to give up on trying to get your hands on them. Although those words were half true and half false, they were truly intimidating. The Thunder Master God did not doubt it at all. A Empyrean divine artifact was not something that anyone could craft just because they wanted to. Without a powerful being of the Empyrean level, one could forget about it. Therefore, he had no reason to doubt Qin Wushuang's claim that it was crafted by his master. What he wanted to find out more was just who the master of this person was. Was this an existence that he, the Thunder Master God, could afford to offend? To be more precise, he wanted to know if the backing of the Great Qian star field could afford to offend this person. Lad, don't get cocky now. So what if it's a Empyrean divine artifact? In your hands, it's nothing more than scrap metal that you can use to scare off those weaklings. You can dream on if you want to scare off a Master God. Ha! Thunder Master God, why don't you give it a try then? Since you can snatch away my Empyrean divine artifact today, there will definitely be someone who will come and trample your entire wind cloud continent flat tomorrow. Right now, Qin Wushuang was just using the tiger's skin as a flag. There was no other choice. If he did not take down the Thunder Master God's spirit as such, it would be hard for him to escape this calamity today. The only way for him to have the Thunder Master God wary of him was to have him have some leeway. Otherwise, once the Thunder Master God struck out, there would be nothing left for him to do anymore. The only thing he could do was to use his consciousness to kill Lin Jingfeng the moment the Thunder Master God struck out. As for Qin Wushuang himself, that would not bring him any benefits at all. If Li Xianfeng had not died, those words of his would have been valid. A pinnacle holy emperor could cause an entire plane to collapse with just a raise of his hand. That was something that could not be doubted. However, right now, his master only had that title in name and no longer existed in this world. All that was left was a remnant consciousness in the Tianxian continent that was waiting for him, Qin Wushuang, to save it. Oh, master! Old man, please don't blame your disciple for being useless. It's just that this Thunder Master God is way too ferocious. Since your disciple has no other choice, I can only use the tiger's skin. The face of the Thunder Master God changed slightly. Lad, you sure talk a lot of big talk. Do you dare to tell me the name of your master? I'm afraid that if I do, your guts will scatter. You're not fit to hear the name of my master. At the end of the day, the Thunder Master God was not someone who could be scared. For someone as formidable as him to be able to listen to Qin Wushuang say so much, it was already because the shock of the heavenly venerate God weapon was way too great. If it were up to him, he would have just killed Lin Fan and snatched the treasure away. Lad, since you're not willing to tell me, I can only resort to violence. Accept your fate. Your master is strong and far beyond the horizon. I'll kill you first before asking an expert to wipe away your master's consciousness. This pair of swords is mine for sure. Ha! Uncle Thunder! Hold on! Lin Jingfeng suddenly roared out with a long face. Uncle Thunder, I don't object to you wanting the heavenly venerate God weapon. However, if you were to resort to violence, he can kill me with a single thought. Are you trying to harm your nephew's life? The Thunder Master God was stunned for a moment. Harming Lin Jingfeng's life was something that he had never thought of. If the Wind Master God were to know that this was how Lin Jingfeng died, he would definitely not let the Thunder Master God off so easily. However, if he were to obtain the heavenly venerate weapon, so what if Lin Jingfeng died? He would just have to seal up everything here so that the Wind Master God would not know about it. Taking a step back, even if the Wind Master God were to find out about it, with the heavenly venerate God weapon in his possession, how could he be afraid of him? By then, not having him give up his position would already be the most benevolent thing he could do. Pursue responsibility? Whoever had the biggest fist would be the boss. So what if it was the Wind Master God? The thoughts in the mind of the Thunder Master God spun furiously as a series of evil thoughts surfaced in his mind. That sinister smirk on his lips was getting thicker by the moment. Uncle Thunder, if you were to cause my death, Master would definitely not let you off. Lin Jingfeng roared out. Shut up. This is all your fault, lad. If not for the fact that you're useless, how would you have been turned into a puppet by someone else? You're the one who isn't skilled enough, and yet you still have the cheek to spout nonsense here? The Thunder Master God roared out as he laughed out menacingly, Everyone here must die today. Qin Wushuang roared out in laughter, Good. You're the Thunder Master God indeed. What guts! How can a heavenly venerate God weapon be enough? I still have the Holy Emperor's legendary weapon. Do you want it? What? The Thunder Master God screamed out as he glared at Qin Wushuang with a sharp gaze. Thunder Master God, my master is a powerful being of the level of the Holy Emperor. I admit that you can definitely kill me today. However, I have already sent out 3 puppets into the heavenly stairway earlier on. If you were to kill all of us, one of those 3 puppets would definitely be able to escape. They would know that the one who was after my life was you, Thunder Master God. My master is extremely resourceful. The moment he finds out, Hue, even if you, Thunder Master God, were to escape to the ends of the heavens, it would still be useless. If I'm not proud, how can I transcend reincarnation? If I'm not crazy, how can I dare to break through the void? The Great Mad Demon, Book Number 205, 2777. It's a hot-blooded fantasy. You have to read it. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 962. Those words of his had the Thunder Master God stumped for words. You have a heavenly venerate God weapon and can wipe out the consciousness within. That's right. But that puppet of yours has already entered the heavenly stairway. Even if you want to kill it, you might not be able to do so. However, this lad was best at bluffing. Who knew if there was any possibility of bluffing in those words of his? The moment that thought flashed through his mind, the evil thoughts of the Thunder Master God still gained the upper hand as he scoffed out coldly. 3 puppets? After I kill you guys, I'll go look for those 3 puppets. Don't worry, I won't let them turn into broken kites. I'll definitely have them leave with you. Ha! Uncle Thunder, have you gone mad? Lin Jingfeng yelled out in rage. Shut up. I've said it before. Today, everyone here must die. Including you. The Thunder Master God swept his gaze over at Lin Jingfeng. Since you're the one who caused all of this, you can just die with them. As for your revered master, I'll make things clear to him. Don't worry. On account of the fact that we're uncle and nephew, I'll make your death sound really heroic so that you'll have a good reputation. That way, you won't bring shame to your sect and your family. That's good enough, isn't it? Ha! TSK. So vicious. Little Thunder, you're so vicious. Right at this moment, a mocking laughter boomed out from the void. Yet another cloud descended from the sky. To think that Ding Yundu would have rushed over at this moment. You, Ding Yundu, you're really like a lingering soul that won't go away. Ding Yundu roared out in laughter, Little Thunder, how can I compare to you? You've been eyeing those few juniors like a lingering soul. I've merely chased after your bum, that's all. But it's a pity that I've seen all of that ugly state of yours. Embarrassing, huh? Ha! Go on and kill them. Kill them all. I'll definitely go out and announce your glorious feats. Killing your own sect, killing juniors, and snatching their belongings. What an imposing manner. Ha! Ding Yundu's words were like a whip that lashed out at the Thunder Master God's face. However, at the end of the day, the Thunder Master God was not someone who cared so much about his face. He scoffed coldly, Ding Yundu, don't make yourself sound so dignified. If you were in my shoes, you would be even more despicable than me. Don't make yourself sound so dignified. What do you want? Tell me. Ding Yundu said leisurely, What? You want to negotiate with me? Cut the crap and state your conditions. I don't like listening to that mouth of yours that's full of crap. The Thunder Master God replied coldly. In his opinion, no one else had the rights to talk terms with him at all. Since Ding Yundu was here, they couldn't possibly take everything for themselves. They had to split it into two. Although it was depressing, it was still acceptable. Unexpectedly, Ding Yundu's expression changed. Little Lei, who said I'm going to negotiate with you? Don't flatter yourself, okay? The Thunder Master God scoffed out coldly, Ding Yundu, I refuse to believe that you aren't interested in the heavenly venerate God weapon. Keep pretending, let's see how long you can keep pretending. Anyway, I'm very free, so I'll just waste my time with you here. Ding Yundu chuckled. This is Wu Xinghe, an adventurer entrusted by our Celestial Phenomenon Temple. Speaking of which, he's one of us. You want to touch someone from our Celestial Phenomenon mainland, and you want me to wallow in the mire with you? With that said, he smiled and nodded his head at Qin Wushuang. Wu Xinghe, don't be afraid. With me around, even if this little Lei wants to play any tricks, he'll definitely not succeed. Qin Wushuang smiled calmly but did not reply. Gesturing with his hand, he had Tai Hong and the others move behind him. The Thunder Master God barked out, Don't move! Ding Yundu asked coldly, Little Lei, do you want to fight? We have a lot of people here. Even if their strength is a little weaker, given that you and I are evenly matched, all of them can still beat you up if they gang up on you. Do you believe me? The Thunder Master God was stunned. Tai Hong and the others had already moved behind Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang asked, Did he make a move on you guys or plot against you guys in any way? Tai Hong shook his head. He only arrived before you came out. Lin Jingfeng used words to trap him. He was in a hurry to find out about your whereabouts, so he did not make a move. Alright, that's good then. Don't worry, I'll let you guys leave safely. Even though there were two Master Gods present, the moment they heard Qin Wushuang say that, they could not help but feel a sense of trust in him. In their opinion, if their captain dared to say that, he must have some confidence in himself. Otherwise, their captain would definitely not have boasted as such. If it were just a single Master God, Qin Wushuang would find it difficult to handle. But now that there were two Master Gods present, Qin Wushuang felt that this situation was easier to make use of. When the Thunder Master God saw how Ding Yundu was behaving, even though he was infuriated in his heart, it was not convenient for him to fall out with him right away. Instead, he scoffed coldly, Don't be naive. Even though this Ding Yundu makes it sound nice, his intentions are pretty much the same as mine. It's just that I'm trying to take it by force while he's trying to take it by trickery. Ding Yundu, you've got your foxtail tucked in well. Don't let it show. Ding Yundu sniggered out, Little Lei, you have a glib tongue. But what's the use of sowing discord? Could it be that the Master Gods of our Celestial Phenomenon mainland would harm their own underlings? Ah, what a bunch of pompous nonsense. Let's not even talk about whether this Wu Xinghe is someone from your celestial phenomenon mainland. Even if he is, a mere itinerant cultivator like him is probably not worthy of being considered as one of your high and mighty main gods, right? The Thunder Master God did not stand on ceremony at all. Don't think that I can't guess your intentions. You're the same as me, both of you are coveting that heavenly venerate God weapon. A pair of heavenly venerate God weapons? Even if it's a brother of ours, I'll just kill him if I want to. For the sake of the heavenly venerate God weapon, I wouldn't even mind offending the Wind Master God. If you, Ding Yundu, were to get your hands on the heavenly venerate God weapon, you would most likely offend the number 1 Master God of your main God Palace as well. And at this moment you're saying that you're one of us? Can a wolf and a sheep be one of us? The Thunder Master God roared out in laughter before continuing, "Why don't you just be more straightforward and reveal your tale so that we can discuss how we should split it? Who are you trying to fool with all that nonsense?" Ding Yundu's face was steely green right now. The reason why he had tried so hard to put on such an act was so that he could appear more genuine. Now that the Thunder Master God had exposed him right to his face, how could he not be enraged? Evidently, Qin Wushuang knew about this logic as well. It was just that he had not said it out loud. Since Ding Yundu liked to pretend to be one of them, he would let him do it then. It would be for the best if these 2 Master Gods got pissed off and got into a fight so that both sides would suffer. That would be the best. Looking at how this mask of kindness could no longer be worn anymore, Ding Yundu scolded out hatefully, "Little Lei, can't you bloody shut up? Are you the only one in this world who understands? Haha. State your conditions then. You've spouted enough nonsense." Ding Yundu replied coldly, "Split it 50-50. What's the point of stating any conditions?" His attitude changed faster than flipping through a book, changing completely in the blink of an eye. This sudden turn of events had all those fellas who were still harboring fantasies about Ding Yundu completely stumped. Qin Wushuang scoffed out coldly, "The 2 of you here are really scheming, aren't you? I've already said that a heavenly venerate God weapon is nothing. I've still got a holy Emperor God weapon with me. Why don't the 2 of you discuss how to split it?" After saying that, his hands flashed out, and a God weapon that resembled a treasure sword appeared in his hands. This item had 9 sections of thorns, which formed an extremely sharp longsword. This item was called Dao-I, the Dao-I legendary sword. This was the pinnacle weapon of Li Xianfeng back then, a top-tier god weapon of the Holy Emperor level. Instantly, the eyes of the Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu shone with a strong desire to possess it. Their eyes were bloodshot as they shone with a fiery glow. "It's a Holy Emperor God weapon, indeed," Ding Yundu murmured out. "Haha. Great Master God Ding, you've got a good eye indeed. This Holy Emperor God weapon is condensed from the bloodline of my revered master, and is of the same lineage as my revered master. If I were to self-destruct my own soul and cast that godly soul blood curse on these 3 weapons, even if it were a powerful being like the Holy Emperor himself, he would not be able to dispel it. Even if the 2 of you were to get your hands on it, you'd be nothing but scrap metal and would have to wait for my revered master to hunt you down." Godly soul blood curse? Ding Yundu and the Thunder Master God exchanged glances. "What's that?" "Haha. Naturally, it's a secret skill that is exclusive to my revered master. What do you frogs in a well know?" At this moment, Qin Wushuang could not be bothered anymore as he spouted nonsense all over. No matter what, as long as he could escape for a moment, that would count. "Lad, I was told that you love to brag. Not bad indeed." The Thunder Master God scoffed out coldly. "Continue bragging. I'll see how far you can go. If your revered master is a powerful being like the Holy Emperor, my revered master is even a great Luo Supreme." "Ha!" Qin Wushuang chuckled out leisurely. "Thunder Master God, I'm really curious. You're a mighty Master God. Why are you behaving like a scoundrel? I've got a suggestion. Are the two of you interested in hearing it out? I've got two options for you guys. The first option is for you guys to take action and kill all of our companions. I'll use a blood curse to seal the legendary weapon. Once my revered master senses that my aura has disappeared, he'll naturally find you guys. The second option is for us to take a risk. Do you see that rainbow bridge? There are 3 heavenly ladders at the end of the rainbow bridge. My companions can choose one of them to enter. Life and death will be up to fate. I'll follow you guys. Whichever heavenly stairway you guys want to enter, that'll be the heavenly stairway. How about that? This was a suggestion that was not too overboard. After all, there were 3 heavenly stairways. No one could guarantee that they would definitely be able to reach a safe place. Lad, do you really think that we have to accept your suggestion? The Thunder Master God scoffed out coldly. I didn't say that you guys have to accept it. You can take the risk. At most, we'll just break up. Not only will you guys not be able to get your hands on the legendary weapon, you'll even offend my revered master. I'm not boasting. If anything were to happen to me, you guys would definitely have to die. The plains behind you guys would definitely be destroyed as well, and the living beings would be plunged into misery and suffering. Qin Wushuang scoffed out coldly. Even though he felt that this was a little too much of a boast, when he considered that if his revered master were truly still alive, it would be extremely easy for him to do all of this. As such, he could not really be considered as boasting entirely. Ding Yundu and the Thunder Master God exchanged glances before casting their gazes at the Rainbow Bridge at the same time. Evidently, they were both plotting something in their hearts. According to Qin Wushuang's suggestion, if this bunch of trash were to choose any of the 3 heavenly stairways, there would be a 2/3 chance that they would end up dead. That was a probability that they could take a gamble on. At least, it was better than all of them going their separate ways. It's really not easy to write a book. The broadband is messing with me again. I waited for half an hour before the signal was restored. There's still one more update. I've already written a little. I'll be done in another 40 minutes. To be continued. If you want to know what's to come, please log on to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 963. Qin Wushuang was nonchalant, as though he did not want to influence their decisions at all. Tai Hong and the others, on the other hand, had their eyes reddened. This was the first time they had witnessed such a benevolent and righteous party leader. How could they not serve such a party leader with their lives? Party leader, go and escape. Don't bother about us. Tai Hong called out. That's right, party leader. Go and escape. It doesn't matter if we die. As long as you escape, party leader, you'll definitely be able to avenge us in the future. Qin Wushuang replied indifferently, I'm the party leader. I make the decisions. You guys don't have to say any more. The eyes of all the men were red as they gripped their fists tightly, feeling extremely aggrieved in their hearts. The 2 of you are Master God powerful beings. Be more straightforward and don't be so wishy-washy. On the other hand, Qin Wushuang urged impatiently. The Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu exchanged glances. In the end it was still the Thunder Master God who scoffed coldly. Let's check out the end of the Rainbow Bridge first. Cloud Crossing Master God, I'll lead the way while you bring up the rear. How about that? Haha. Sure. Thunder Master God, please. These 2 shameless beings were still arguing earlier on, calling each other by their names. But now, they were all smiles and addressing each other as Master Gods shamelessly. Qin Wushuang sniggered in his heart. The end of the Rainbow Bridge? That was exactly what he wanted. The closer he was to the heavenly stairway, the more profitable it would be. That little rat said exasperatedly, You're really a jinx, aren't you? To think that you would bump into such a troublesome matter right after coming out. Forget it, I have no other choice now. Even though I know that it's a living hell, I'll just have to jump in with you. Arriving at the end of the Rainbow Bridge, the 3 heavenly stairways were majestic and gave off a fleeting feeling. As long as anyone approached, that voice would ring out. That voice rang out once more, introducing the situation of the heavenly stairway. The 3 heavenly stairways led to 3 different regions: the treasure vault, the fiend prison, and the unknown destination. The Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu exchanged glances once more, communicating with one another through their consciousness. Cloud Crossing Master God, do you think that lad is trying to bluff us? Ding Yundu smiled bitterly. Are you sure that his blood curse is fake? I'm not sure. Since this kid has the Holy Emperor's divine weapon, he might have some trump cards. So, you want to agree to his proposal? Or did they get wiped out by Swift Blade Mahjong? Let's see which stairway they choose first. If they want to walk down the path of death, why should we stop them? We can just let them do it. The problem is, can you tell which path is the path to survival? Which one is the dead end? Let's see what they choose first. The gazes of the 2 master gods were locked onto Qin Wushuang. That Thunder Master God gave a fake smile. Wu Xinghe, if we were to agree to your suggestion, which sky stairway do you intend to choose? Qin Wushuang sneered. Don't say that I'm taking advantage of you. I'll let you choose first. Qin Wushuang appeared to be very magnanimous and spoke in a casual tone. This was something that the Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu had not expected. The 2 of them exchanged glances and sniggered. We're not going to bully the juniors. We'll let you choose first. Qin Wushuang asked coldly, so, you guys agree to it? You tell us which one you'll choose first. Since you guys haven't agreed to it, what should I choose? I don't have the time to chit-chat with you guys. Qin Wushuang did not back down in the slightest bit as his tone was resolute. Looking at how Qin Wushuang was so stubborn, they felt that Qin Wushuang had something to rely on. Eventually, they decided that it was worth it to take a step back. Alright, we'll agree to it for now. You choose first. Qin Wushuang's heart skipped a beat as he pretended to be deep in thought while staring at the 3 sky stairways. In truth, out of the 3 puppets that he had sent out, 2 of them had already been destroyed. That was something that his consciousness had sensed long ago. If that was the case, the remaining path was naturally safe. Right now, those 2 fellas were clearly trying to scare him by letting him choose first. If he were to choose that path of life right from the start, those 2 fellas would definitely regret it. Given their characters, regret was something that was bound to happen. Therefore, Qin Wushuang decided to play a little roundabout strategy with them. Vice Captain Tai, you guys choose one. There's a 1 in 3 chance of survival. You've got to take it easy. When he said that, Qin Wushuang sent a voice transmission to Tai Hong in secret, telling him which path of life was. At the same time, he had him choose the path of death and had the others follow suit. Tai Hong knew that his party leader was going to play a game of strategy with those 2 master gods. Therefore, he naturally cooperated and pointed at one of the paths of death before calling out, I'll choose this then. Brothers, what do you guys think? We'll follow our party leader. Preposterous. Qin Wushuang shook his head. All of you, listen to Vice Captain Tai. Have you made your choice? The Thunder Master God sniggered out. Once a choice was made, there was no changing it. What do you think, party leader? Tai Hong asked for Qin Wushuang's opinion instead. Qin Wushuang's gaze, however, was fixed on the other path of death. Vice Captain Tai, why don't you guys choose that one? Qin Wushuang's gaze was fixed on that path of death. However, what he was pointing at was the only path of life, which was the heavenly stairway that led to the treasure trove. It's that one then. If the 2 of you have any opinions, feel free to raise them. Qin Wushuang smiled out. However, there was a look of worry that flashed across his face as he snuck a glance at the other path of death from the corner of his eyes. This detail landed in the eyes of the Thunder Master God, who roared out in laughter. Alright, we'll take that one then. Qin Wushuang's face changed slightly before returning to normal. Vice Captain Tai, you guys make your own choice. I'm not going to give any suggestions. The Thunder Master God barked out, since we've made our choice, we can't change it. We'll take the path that you've mentioned. Ding Yundu had also noticed those details of Qin Wushuang's earlier on. He chuckled out as well. That's right. Since we've already made our choice, what's there to change? We'll take the path that you've mentioned then. Qin Wushuang yelled out, the two of you, they're the ones who are leaving. By right, they should be the ones to choose. Wu Xinghe, you're the party leader. They said that they would follow the party leader and listen to you. Are you trying to go back on your word? Aren't you afraid that we'll just give up on the legendary weapon and kill you guys on the spot? Everyone's faces changed. Qin Wushuang harumphed out indignantly. However, his heart was bursting with joy. These two fellas were really not easy to deal with. Thankfully, his acting skills were pretty good. He had intentionally created a diversion to confuse them. The first one to choose and the third one to peek at from the corner of his eyes were all dead ends. As for the path that he had casually pointed out, it was actually the path of life. After his act, the two sovereigns thought that Qin Wushuang was bluffing and deliberately choosing the path of death, so that they would object and have a chance to choose the path of life. This was because they were determined not to give in. Who would have thought that their stubbornness would actually help Qin Wushuang's plan? Leader, there's no need to argue. Let's just go. After all three paths have a 1/3 chance of survival. If even the sovereigns can't predict it, then there's no need for us to waste our efforts. Brothers, if it's the path of death, do you dare to take it? We do. Vice leader, but the leader, Tai Hong shouted. The leader is willing to sacrifice himself for justice. No matter what the outcome is, we owe him this favor. Remember, we may never meet such a leader in our lives. Therefore, when we part, please accept our respect. These hot-blooded men all lowered their heads and bowed. Qin Wushuang shook his head repeatedly. His expression was gloomy. This was not an act. He had given the path of life to these people. As for where he would go from here, it was really hard to say. They could only hope that they would be lucky enough to enter that unknown place. If that was the case, they might have a slight chance of survival. Otherwise, waving his hand, Qin Wushuang said indifferently, all of you go. If you are lucky enough to survive, just remember that I, Wu Xinghe, am a person. Although he had said it this way, in fact, Qin Wushuang had already made a promise. If everyone managed to escape, he would tell them where to meet up. Brothers, let's go. Tai Hong's tiger-like eyes were filled with tears as he shouted, Leader, if we are lucky enough to make it to the treasure vault, I guarantee that all the treasures will be distributed after you return alive. No one will be able to take a single item first. I will kill whoever takes it. These words sounded like a promise, but they were actually swearing loyalty to Qin Wushuang. The Thunder Master God laughed sinisterly. Wait till you have the chance to live before saying these words. I wish you guys the best of luck in entering the fiend prison, ha. Lin Jingfeng glared at the Thunder Master God. Uncle Thunder, even if I die and turn into a malicious spirit, I will remember you. The Thunder Master God shrugged his shoulders. Then, you can turn into a malicious spirit as soon as possible. I'm not afraid of you remembering me. Ding Yundu did not miss the opportunity to make a dig at him. I say, Thunder Master God, back then, you fell out with me because of this Lin Jingfeng. But now that things have come to this, why do you have to go through all this trouble? The Thunder Master God replied coldly, Ding Yundu, I've given you some face and you're going to start a dye mill? Cut the bloody crap. For the sake of the heavenly venerate God weapon, the holy Emperor God weapon, even if it were my own father, I would sell him off, let alone Lin Jingfeng. The path of a cultivator is to destroy humanity and cut off all relationship. Don't tell me how great you are. I don't like to hear that nonsense. Ding Yundu chuckled out and gave him a thumbs up. Great. I've realized that you're quite an interesting fella, aren't you? Watching as Tai Hong and the others left and disappeared completely, Qin Wushuang then turned around and looked at the two of them coldly. The two of you choose one of these two sky ladders. Lad, must you choose? The Thunder Master God sniggered. Don't tell me you're regretting it now. Qin Wushuang replied coldly. Haha, we'll wait and wait. In any case, we're in no hurry. My underlings have already sent over some spirit beasts of the beast race. I'll send a few of them in to scout the path and see which one leads to the treasure vault. The Thunder Master God replied casually. Brilliant. You're the one who has thought things through. However, Qin Wushuang barked out fiercely, Wait? Who told you that I'm going to wait? The two of you, if you're afraid of death, then don't covet my god weapon. I'll make a move first. It's up to you whether or not you want to come. With that said, Qin Wushuang bolted up into the sky with a purple light and flew up toward one of the remaining two sky ladders. Lad, hold it right there. Do you really think that we wouldn't dare to kill you? The two of them were truly shameless to think that they would chase after him right away. Boom. At the end of the sky ladders, it was as though a huge door had been slammed shut. Haha. Welcome to the sky ladders world. Once you enter this sky ladders world, there's no turning back. Your only option is to charge through to the end. That voice spoke out leisurely as the door of the sky ladders slammed shut. Both the Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu were stunned as they mumbled. Could they have gotten lucky and entered the treasure vault? Dream on. The place that they're heading to is the treasure vault. The place that we're going to choose is either the demon's prison or some unknown place. Welcome to the journey of death, both of you. Ha! Qin Wushuang sniggered out as he pushed the purple cloud yin yang wings to their limits and dove into the void. Chase. The Thunder Master God and Ding Yundu were enraged as they chased after him hurriedly. If you want to know what happened next, please visit www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 964. Welcome to the Demon World. A rather mocking laugh was heard. This immediately caused the hearts of the three people who had entered to tremble. Enter the demon world? Could it be that he was so unlucky that he ended up in the devil's hell? A trace of bitterness flashed through Qin Wushuang's heart, but at this time, he couldn't care so much. No matter where he went, even if it was the fiend's prison, Ding Yundu and the Thunder Master God would definitely not let him off. Now, he could only brace himself and hold on. Even if they were in the fiend prison, they still had to waste time. Even if he was devoured by 10,000 demons, it was still better than being captured by those two bastards. The treasure bestowed by his master must not be lost, and it must not fall into the hands of those two bastards. Although this was the fiend prison, if those two fellows obtained the heavenly venerable artifact and the holy emperor divine artifact, they might be able to escape. Hold on, Brother Cloud Crossing. The Thunder Master God called out. Ding Yundu stopped in his tracks. Brother Lei, what's wrong? The Thunder Master God surveyed his surroundings warily as he spoke with a stern tone. Evil fiend prison. To think that we would have entered the evil fiend prison. We've been ket over by that lad. Brother Cloud Crossing, that kid has nowhere to go now. Once we entered the demon prison, I took a look and saw that the seal on the heaven stairway had been closed. It was easy to enter from the outside, but difficult to leave from the inside. That brat is in a hurry to escape. If he rushes in like this, he will definitely die. What does Brother Lei have in mind? A hint of wariness flashed across Ding Yundu's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. In this fiend prison, we must sincerely cooperate. Otherwise, once those tens of thousands of fiends start wreaking havoc, we will be in great trouble. That's right. Why don't we make a vow? In this fiend prison, we must cooperate with all our strength and not have any disloyalty. What do you think? Good, that would be for the best. The two of them actually swore a poison oath. Qin Wushuang didn't stop. He discovered that this fiend prison wasn't any different from the outside world. Ancient roads, vigorous trees, and gurgling streams. There was no trace of the demon prison at all. How could this be? Could it be that the hint from that voice was a lie? Qin Wushuang thought about it in his head. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet began to float, and everything before his eyes began to float. That's right, it was floating. When had Qin Wushuang ever seen such a strange situation? The surrounding environment was like a landscape painting. It floated flatly like a huge picture scroll that was slowly closing. Haha, welcome to the Pantheon Maze Palace. This is the real Pantheon Maze Palace. That familiar voice sounded. Qin Wushuang was already wrapped in a green light. The light was so intense that he couldn't even open his eyes. Qin Wushuang only felt that this scroll had caught him, and like a heavenly book, it flew forward and suddenly flew into a huge golden pagoda. Initially, Qin Wushuang had also seen the scene of this tower from the illusion. Thus, he immediately recognized it. The size of this golden pagoda was simply indescribable. When Qin Wushuang regained his vision, he found himself inside the golden pagoda. This golden pagoda was spacious. Even within this pagoda, there seemed to be an endless universe. There were carved beams and painted rafters everywhere. On the pillars and stone walls there were all kinds of images. These carvings were obviously very exaggerated. Every image was very strange and ferocious, as if they were deliberately ugly. Could this be the image of a demon? Qin Wushuang was at a loss as he walked around. Fortunately, the interior of this golden pagoda was also like a maze. No matter where Qin Wushuang walked, all he saw were huge pillars. It was like a vast and boundless forest. Countless pillars formed a mysterious world. How could this be? Qin Wushuang had countless thoughts in his mind. He was very curious as he wandered around. This is strange. The image of these demons, what exactly is? Boom! Before he could finish speaking, the carvings on the pillar beside him had already flown out of the pillar. The originally unclear image of the demon suddenly became vivid. It actually came to life on the spot. The carvings directly turned into real demons. The three demons on the pillar pounced down together. Qin Wushuang did not have time to think carefully. He raised his hand and blasted the Great Five Elements reincarnation seal. The three fiends wailed like ghosts and howled like wolves, then turned into streams of light and disappeared. What the hell, this place is too strange. Just as Qin Wushuang was mumbling to himself, lights kept flashing from the surrounding pillars. Like arrows leaving the bow, waves of evil demons kept charging over to kill. Damn, did I poke a hornet's nest? Qin Wushuang knew that a strong dragon could not defeat a local snake. Even if this demon was not a local snake, it was at least more familiar with this place than him, Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang was a very smart person. He realized that he had activated these demon carvings twice when he spoke twice. Could this be a magical seal? Qin Wushuang was very quick-witted. After figuring this out, he immediately shut up and avoided these demons at lightning speed. Kill, kill, kill! Qin Wushuang's ears were filled with this kind of demon's low roars. The entire myriad god disorienting palace was like a pot of boiling soup, constantly boiling, and the surrounding airflow undulations were also constantly intensifying. Qin Wushuang had a premonition that these demons seemed to be like ferocious beasts that were about to break out of their cages at any time. Wild, unrestrained, like a torrent that was blocked by a dam, ready to break through the great dam at any time and destroy everything. Qin Wushuang was deep inside, as if he was in a vast sea. If not for the heavenly branch Kuei Wolf two swords protecting tightly, just these airflow would also be able to crush Qin Wushuang's muscles and bones. But even so, it was also enough for Qin Wushuang to drink a pot of water. Qin Wushuang felt that he was constantly moving. But once he entered deep into this myriad god disorienting palace, it was as if he was in a vast sea, with no end at all. In a dark corner, there were 9 huge pillars standing tall. Full of might, filled with a monstrous devil flame ominous light, emitting all kinds of colored aura flames in the surroundings. Amidst the splendor revealed an ominous light that made people suck in a breath of cold air. Great Demon Venerable, seems like someone has barged in. Haha, this is an opportunity. How many years has it been? How many years has it been since we smelled the scent of a living person? Haha. Great Demon Venerable, it seems like more than one person has entered. Waha. Could it be that the heavens have sent us a delicious meal? Don't be anxious. A voice full of might shouted coldly, let's see what the situation is first. Right now, the seal is already at its weakest. I only need a strand of yang qi from a living person, and I can break free. At that time, I'll definitely refine this myriad god disorienting palace and bestow upon all of you a supreme true body, all of you obtaining freedom. Great Demon Venerable is mighty. Great Demon Venerable is mighty. The demonic gods prostrated themselves in worship, tears flowing down their faces, extremely excited. With this promise from the Great Demon Venerable, things would be much easier. After suppressing his anger for hundreds of thousands of years and losing his freedom for decades, was there finally a light at the end of the tunnel? Great Demon Venerable, look, they're here, they're here. There are 3 fellows. Those 2 fellows, Master Gods, haha, Great Demon Venerable, do you see them? They're actually Master Gods. Haha, Master God level powerhouses, Great Demon Venerable, we're rich. This is really a rare big mouse. Sealed within these 9 pillars were the 9 great demonic god. They were all Master God level existences. As for the Great Demon Venerable, he was a heavenly venerable level powerhouse. He was the core of this myriad god disorienting palace. Even if they were sealed, with their cat god's aura and divine power, they could still control the myriad of demonic gods with their minds. They were extremely powerful. Great Demon Venerable, what should we do? That little rabbit seems to have barged in. Haha. Great Demon Venerable, why don't you let this little brother have a taste first? Old 5, you want to eat alone? Seniors are respected. The Great Demon Venerable and Second Demon Venerable will share the 2 Master God. I'm old 3, so this little rabbit is naturally mine. All of you, shut up. The Great Demon Venerable shouted coldly. Everyone, listen to my orders. I'll take action. You're not to be presumptuous, especially not to clash with Master God level powerhouses. Otherwise, you won't be able to withstand a single Sun God attack. He wasn't trying to intimidate them. After all, they were Master Gods with physical bodies. How could a single Master God without a physical body be a match for 2 Master Gods? Great Demon Venerable, I think we should still use the human wave tactic. Otherwise, if those 2 Master Gods get angry, it won't be easy. The Great Demon Venerable sneered. I have an idea. Don't forget my nickname, the Great Demon Venerable. Haha, that's right. Boss, you're the sound demon. Once you use your illusory sound technique, it'll be strange if they don't fall head over heels for you. Haha. This kid is a little strange. The Great Demon Venerable stared in Qin Wushuang's direction, his fierce eyes revealing a hint of contemplation. I can sense a terrifying aura from him. The Great Demon Venerable said coldly, but his cultivation is clearly only that of an ordinary heavenly supreme Tao powerhouse. What's going on? Terrifying aura? What was that? The demon god sensed it and said, that divine weapon of his is more powerful, right? What else is there? No, I feel as if there's a terrifying demon hidden in his body. This terrifying aura, I feel a little familiar. What's going on? What's going on? The great demon Venerable's tone became more perplexed. Great demon Venerable, could it be an illusion? It can't be. The great demon Venerable denied flatly. It can't be an illusion. In this Pantheon maze palace, only I can create illusions. I have to investigate it. I have to investigate it thoroughly. After the great demon Venerable finished speaking, the flames on the huge pillar leaped. Like a phoenix born from fire, it flew away from the pillar and floated towards Qin Wushuang. Its speed was so fast that it was simply dazzling. At the same time, they muttered in their hearts, "What's so strange about this young man?" To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author, support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.